radio for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network.
I need your help to get to the year 1985.
You're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Good evening. Fade to Black. Bespoke radio for the masses. Yeah, man. How you doing? Today's Tuesday, August 2nd, 2022. And I would like to welcome everybody listening all around the world, all across the United States. Hither and thither, to and fro, back and forth, up and down, east and west, north and south, far and near. This is Fade to Black for KJCR, the Game Changer, and UnX Networks, Race Hobbs. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. What is cracking, everybody? How you doing? How you doing? Yeah, I'm in a great mood. That's because tonight, John Michael Godier might have the coolest name in our community, if not the world. He's with us tonight. We're going to be talking about the James Webb Space Telescope and the search for ET. We're going to be doing all of that tonight with John, JMG. Tomorrow night, Isaac Arthur is here. Wow, I got Godier and Arthur same week. How does that happen? Somebody pinch me. Tomorrow night, we're going to be talking about time travel. And then Thursday is another Fader night with open lines all night long. All right. Man, I've got a busy second half of 2022 coming up, and in just 2 short weeks, on August 16th, Tuesday night, right here in Los Angeles, I will be at UPARS in Studio City. And after 2 years, a 2-year hiatus, UPARS is back. I will be speaking. We will be broadcasting live from there. And I'm going to bring a little Fade to Black to UPARS, which I've done a few times over the years. We've done a couple of live broadcasts from UPARS, maybe 3. But it's going to be great. Now, it's only seating for 200. It's going to sell out. It may have sold out. You can go to uparsla.org for tickets and information, but that's coming up in 2 short weeks. Tomorrow, I'm going to be filming. I did some stuff today, and tomorrow I'll be on location shooting for a new film that's coming up. And that's tomorrow. Then I'm going to rush back to the studio for Isaac Arthur tomorrow night. And I'm going to Egypt in October. September 16th, I will be in Joshua Tree for a private sky watch. And that's going to be a 2-night event. And 1 night in Joshua Tree and 1 night at Giant Rock. And if you would like to be one of the lucky few that are going to be there for this, all you've got to do is go to forbiddenclub.com and mint 10 NFTs. You'll get your Forbidden Knowledge Black Card, and then you will get an invitation to come and hang out with us in Joshua Tree. And so there you go. I do have coming up, I can't believe it. See, we're in August. Then there is September. And, for the rest of the year, I'm going to be filming this new TV show. I'm very excited about that. And then coming up in February, we've got Conscious Life Expo, and the plans are already in motion for that. And then I will be speaking on a cruise that is going to depart out of Los Angeles down south the coast into Mexico, and then turn around and return in Los Angeles. So I'll be doing that too as well. And that's in April 7th through the 14th. And I've got a lot of email from everybody. And please excuse me, I've been really, really busy. And I haven't handed off the information to everybody else that helps me with social media and the website and stuff to get all of this stuff out there. But I will get it out there. All right. Maybe tomorrow will be the day. I had a crazy day today. Just crazy. I was speaking to a friend of mine on the phone, and I said, today, it's so much better than being not busy, right? That's the opposite. What's the opposite of being too busy? Not being busy. And no. Like my father told me, it's the life you chose. So you can't complain about it. Just trying to figure out how to keep my head above water. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. You can follow me right there at JChurchRadio. Follow me on Instagram at JimmyChurchRadio. The soundbox is hashtag F2B on Twitter. I'm looking at the Mediterranean Chicken's giant taco. Oh, today's Tuesday. Oh, I know what I'm doing tonight after this show. I already did tostadas today, though. Does a tostada count for Taco Tuesday? No, it doesn't. It does not. Doesn't even come close. All right, hashtag F2B is the sandbox on Twitter. I just jumped over to the chat rooms to say hello. Lots to do tonight. This is going to be a great show. And so let's get straight to the breaking news. In a civic science, now listen to what I'm about to say. Well, it's not me. This is a press release. Came out earlier today. And before I do this, I've just got to thank Renee. I don't thank Renee enough. Renee, thank you. You're the absolute very best. The very best. All right. She handles our news here. And I know what you guys are thinking. Wait. Jimmy doesn't pick the news? No, I don't. I've got Renee, and she's inside my head. I don't know how she does it. She's inside my head. I do maybe a couple of news stories a week, but she beats me to the punch. Every time I find it, no, she's already sent it to me by the time I find it. But then there is this. In a civic science survey last month in mid-July, 13% of U.S. adults say they agree with the statement, Bigfoot, Sasquatch, is a real living creature, end quote. That's up from 11% who said the same in May of 2020, 2 years ago. That's an 18% increase in Bigfoot beliefs. Similarly to the 2020 study, Americans living in the West were still most likely to believe in Bigfoot. 15% of residents in the West are believers, compared with 11% of those in the Northeast. However, the overall uptick in Sasquatch truthers has come from the cities and the suburbs. Now, isn't that interesting? Gen X, ages 35 to 54, was more likely to believe in Bigfoot, while older adults were more likely to be skeptics. But all age groups saw at least some growth in Sasquatch belief. Now, here we go. Also from the survey. This is not me. This is from the survey. So don't send me any email. Send it to John Michael Godier. Also from the survey, Bigfoot believers are generally more likely to be daily YouTube users, are more likely to play a musical instrument, are more likely to plan to invest in cryptocurrency, are more likely to bet on sports online. I don't get that, but that's in the survey. More likely to believe in the Loch Ness Monster, more likely to enjoy the 1990s TV show The X-Files, and rounding up the list, more likely to own a gun. There you go. That's all in the survey. Well, down in Chile, a massive 656-foot deep sinkhole with an 82-foot diameter has suddenly opened up near an underground copper mine in Chile over the weekend. Specialist teams of geologists from Chile's National Service of Geology and Mining were rushed to the Alcaparrosa mine, which is operated by Canada's London Mining Group and is located about 400 miles north of Santiago. Chile issued an order to immediately stop work in the area to evaluate the situation, talking about the mine. Development work in the area of the Alcaparrosa underground mine has been temporarily stopped as a preventive measure and is being monitored continuously. And it is massive. 82 feet in diameter. Okay, all right. It is 656 feet deep. All right. Virgin Galactic back in the news. Virgin Galactic Holdings, Inc. today announced it has secured land to move forward with a new astronaut campus and training facility in the state of New Mexico, near the company's commercial operations headquarters. The land, located in Sierra County, will be home to a new, first-of-its-kind astronaut campus for exclusive use by Virgin Galactic future astronauts and up to 3 of their guests in advance of a space flight from Spaceport America. Conceptual design of the campus has already begun, and Virgin Galactic plans to complete the build-out in parallel with the expansion and capacity of its fleet in New Mexico. There you go. All right. Speaking of that, can I say this? Can I say this officially? Okay, out here, I live in the Mojave Desert. And out here, there are 3 major facilities. You have, Lockheed Skunk Works and those facilities over here with NASA and the Air Force and Northrop Grumman and the other clandestine stuff that's going on out there with buildings that don't have any names on it. That's one spot. Then we have Edwards Air Force Base, a testing and training facility of the secret stuff, and that is a few miles away. And then maybe another 10 miles past that is the Mojave Airport and Spaceport, and Virgin Galactic is out there. So 2 days ago, I don't want to say much more than that, but 2 days ago, I was out in the area. I was out driving around out there. I was poking around. I was taking pictures, trying to get arrested. And I saw this plane take off. I don't want to say anything else. I really couldn't see it. It was too fast. I heard it first. And I was outside of the Jeep. And then when I'm looking around, I can hear it, and I can hear it move. And finally, I caught it as it was flying up, and I caught it. It was to my, this would be my right. This is my left. To my left, and I could see it, and it was arching up. But man, all right, I don't want to say anything else. God, I caught a basic shape. It was bizarre. I don't want to say what time. I don't want to say specifically what day. I don't want to give away any secrets because that thing looked top secret, whatever it was. I don't know. I'm assuming there's a pilot in there. But whoever is in that is literally just hitting the gas just to the floor. Everything pushes forward. And what's he feeling? What's he seeing? That is just crazy to me. That was just nuts. All right. That's it. I don't want to say any more than that. It was pretty crazy. All right. What's this picture? Resin. It's a picture of me vaping. Yeah, there you go. Pretty cool. That's an older picture because look at my hair. Caught me vaping on the air. Oh, I did that on purpose. I remember when I did that. I was doing that for all of you guys during a commercial break. I remember that. I remember now. I remember when it all happened. Let's get this show cracking on this day in history. OTD, 1865. The captain and crew of the CSS Shenandoah, still prowling the waters of the Pacific in search of Yankee whaling ships, is finally informed by a British vessel that the South had lost the war. They didn't know. It was like 5 years later after the end of the Civil War. The Shenandoah just didn't know. The Shenandoah was the last Confederate cruiser to set sail. Wasn't that like an episode of Gilligan's Island? Right? Sounds like an episode of Gilligan's Island. Fader fact. In 1989, I bet you John Michael Godier doesn't know this. I bet you he doesn't. He's going to be nodding his head in just a second. He's going to be getting, I knew that. In 1989, scientists at IBM succeeded in arranging 35 individual xenon atoms on a substrate of chilled crystal of nickel to spell out IBM. It was the first time atoms had been precisely positioned on a flat surface. And John just threw up his hands. He didn't know. John just threw up his hands. He didn't know. I saw that in like Omni magazine or something back in the day, and it was pretty impressive. It wasn't as impressive as, do you guys remember the world's smallest like playable guitar, that nano guitar? All right. Tonight, very special guest, John Michael Godier, is with us. We're going to be talking about the James Webb Space Telescope and the search for ET. Tomorrow night, Isaac Arthur joins us. We're going to be talking time travel with Isaac. Haven't done that with Isaac in a few years. It's going to be great. Thursday night is another Fader night with open lines all night long. All right. Now it's time for me to hit this River Moon Coffee. Jorge says, hey, Jimmy, that Bowie documentary you watched recently, was it 5 years? I don't know. I don't remember. You know what, Jorge? I will go and check that out, and I'll get back to you. I've watched, there's like 3 Bowie documentaries that I've watched in the last few months. So I'm not sure. I'll see which one was the last one. I did also just recently, there was another Bowie documentary about his last recordings, and that was pretty amazing to see too as well. So I'll get that up for you. Okay. All right. River Moon Coffee, rivermoonwellness.com. Stephen Owen, you caught that. That was my Queensryche. And he just posted, that's awesome, man. I remember now. I remember how it all happened. It's such a great record, man. It's such a great record. I can't believe, that's why I love the Fader Knots. To be able to do that and grab a Queensryche GIF and get that up there, that's another question for Jean Michael Godier. He's smarter than me. Is it GIF or is it GIF? The world wants to know. We need to finally put that one to bed. I mean, like, for reals. Last week, I didn't say anything, and I was with a couple of people, a couple of friends, and and we're sitting, and it was lunch, and talking, and one of them said, "Yeah, I've been posting these GIFs, and I didn't say anything. I so wanted to jump in. I did everything. And it's like, I don't need this right now. I don't need to get into this thing. So there you go. All right. Where am I at? rivermoonwellness.com. Jimmy Church's Fade to Black blend. Yeah. Right on, Cassandra. You're the best. It's GIF. It's not GIF. I remember. What do animals ponder? Now, let's think about that for a second. What do animals ponder? I did a show last week with Christina Gomez, and we were talking about reincarnation. And one of the things, which has it does have everything to do with what I'm talking about right now, because I just brought it up. But the point being, I said, yeah, what about animals? Do we reincarnate? Do we ever come back as like a dog? Right? You don't want to come back as an earthworm. That would just totally blow. But a dog, that would be cool. Primate, that would be pretty cool. Dolphin, I could hang. Reincarnate. But when you look into a dog's eyes, there's something there. But what do they ponder? And I know that some of you right now have a dog next to you listening to the show, watching the show, and dog is listening too. And maybe the dog is like, we ponder a lot, church. Right? Maybe that's what they're thinking. And like tonight, the James Webb Telescope. And our dog's going, church, man, the James Webb Telescope, amazing images. Been wondering the same thing. What's going on out there? How is it possible to take these images? How is it possible to look at the atmosphere of an exoplanet to see if it has a biosphere and methane gas? How is that? That is just extraordinary. What do animals ponder? And here is the flip side of that. If they don't ponder what we ponder, I love that word. Why is it that we are the only species on this planet that ponders those things? Tonight, we're going to be talking about the James Webb Telescope. We're going to be looking at some images. We're going to be talking about these things. We're going to be pondering. And when we look at those images individually, you, me, you're going to have your own thoughts. What is it that you're going to ponder? And would an animal ponder the same things? Probably not. And why is it that we're the only ones blessed with this? So, for example, flash up some crazy gaseous nebula shot in infrared, an image that we've never been able to see before. And we look at this. You are going to look at the image, and it's going to hit you a certain way. You're going to look at that, and you are going to think something. You are going to ponder something. Maybe it's something like I would ponder, like, wow, I wonder what that yellow swirly stuff is. Is it gas? Is it dust? What is it that you are going? I wonder what type of gas it is. I wonder what kind of particle that is that radiates that color of golden yellow. What causes that? That's what I'm talking about. And everybody is going to ponder something a little bit different. And why is it that we are the only ones that just gets the chance to do that? I don't get it. when we look at chimpanzees, right? Look at little baby spider monkeys, apes. They look like us. We can relate to them. Do they ponder? What is it? Fascinates me. How is it that we are the only one? And I'll leave you with this one last thought. Today I was reading some stuff on DNA, and not necessarily us, but just DNA in general. And I talk about this a lot on the show, but would alien DNA, do scientists expect it to be different than ours? DNA on this planet, everything's the same. Everything's a little bit different, but DNA in a banana and DNA in humans, pretty much the same. And, what constitutes different DNA? But what about alien DNA? Is there 3 strands instead of 2? Is it a triple helix? I don't know. Think about that. Or is it just all the same? And then what would make an alien civilization ponder or think differently than us? And does it come down to DNA? Like animals, I am able to ponder this thought. Think about that. Just think about that. It's heavy. This is Fade to Black. Our guest tonight, Michael Godier. He's going to help me through these crazy doofus thoughts that I have. This is Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Michael Godier. Tomorrow night, right here, Isaac Arthur and time travel. But tonight is Michael Godier and the James Webb Space Telescope. Thursday is another Fader night with open lines all night long. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church, on the UnX and Game Changer networks. Be right back after this short break. Stay with us.
This is Nicole Church, daughter of you-know-who, and you're listening to Fade to Black on JimmyChurchRadio.com and the Game Changer Network.
You're listening to Jimmy Church and Fade to Black on the X.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Fade to Black will now pause for alien identification.
The station that talks the net.
When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Yes, Rivermoon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Just click on the banner at JimmyChurchRadio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today.
This is the only way forward.
This is Fade to Black. Make contact.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and you can get our podcast for just $2 per month. All you have to do is click on the podcast banner over at JimmyChurchRadio.com. Hello, Fadernauts. Jimmy Church here. You've seen me with my Thunderstorm. Now you can purify the air in your home and get healthy, clean, fresh-smelling air and eliminate odors just like I do right here in the bunker. The EdenPURE Thunderstorm uses oxy technology that naturally sends out O3 molecules into the air, which seek out odors and air pollutants in your home and destroys them. It's called a thunderstorm because it purifies the air just like after a thunderstorm. And right now, you can save $200 on an EdenPURE Thunderstorm 3-pack for whole home protection. With this special offer, you're getting 3 units for under $200. Seriously. Go to EdenPureDeals.com and use Fader3. Shipping is free and it's easy. Just scroll down. You'll see my name right there, Jimmy Church. Click on it and get your deal today. That's EdenPureDeals.com.
Do you have an interest in the paranormal? Then you'll love the UnXNetwork.com. The X is your streaming audio and video for everything supernatural, strange, and mysterious, like UFOs, Bigfoot, ghosts, and so much more. From hosts like Jimmy Church, Whitley Strieber, Micah Hanks, and Christina Gomez. Visit the UnXNetwork.com show page for a complete list of all the paranormal programs you'll find on the X. Be sure to follow us on Twitter for updates at KUNXDB. Follow our Facebook group, UnX Network. Find the podcast on Spotify, iHeart, Audible, and Apple Podcast. It's time.
It's new.
It's the X.
Right now, the world couldn't be more chaotic. History shows us what gold does when the world goes crazy. It goes up in value. Right now, we're in unprecedented times. The pandemic, the war in Ukraine, the devaluation of the U.S. dollar. Gold and other precious metals are a defense measure against the hyperinflation that's happening right now. So, what can you do to protect yourself? Call my friend Alan Johnson at United Gold Group. He's dedicated to helping people secure their retirement income. He'll help you with gold, with silver, and other precious metals, and show you how to set up your own self-directed IRA. Safe and secure, United Gold Group makes gold ownership easy and affordable. There couldn't be a better time, so call now and get a silver American Eagle proof set with a qualified IRA. Call 800-753-8534. That's 800-753-8534 or visit UnitedGoldGroup.com. Reach out to my friend, Alan Johnson.
9 out of 10 geneticists agree.
Fade to Black is not your father's radio show on the Game Changer Radio Network.
Hi, this is Rob Reiner from Anvil, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
What's up? I'm Chris. What up? This is Kyle Manson. You're listening to Jimmy Church Radio.
Welcome back. Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, John Michael Godier joins us for a full night of the James Webb Space Telescopes and its search. I said telescopes. Well, that's actually correct. Actually, it's got more than one set of lenses on that thing. And its search for ET and life on exoplanets. We're going to be going through all of that. He's a science fiction author and futurist with 2 novels out, The Salvagers and Supermind, and is the host of 2 YouTube channels, his personal one under his own name, and a science-based talk show, The Event Horizon. Yes, it's where I get all of my material. It's not that big of a deal. Everybody knows that now. Where his interviews and his guests are subjects ranging from alien life, the Fermi Paradox, astrophysics, exoplanets. That's right, where I get all of my material. His content is also available as a podcast on Spotify and Apple. All of his websites, links, channels, all that stuff is right there on our website and throughout social media. And I would like to welcome back to Fade to Black, the one and only Jean Michael Godier. There he is. How you doing, man?
Hi, everybody. Hey, Jimmy. Hey, Jimmy, I got another spider story for you. Last time I was stuck with a Black Widow in the studio with me, and this time I have been recovering over the last week, limping around from what I think was a brown recluse bite on my foot. So it's like the land that I live on is cursed.
Ooh, brown recluse is no joke. Black widow, whatever, right? Whatever. I looked it up once and I was shocked, but this is a fact. Last year in the United States, nobody died from a black widow bite. 0, right? Happens all the time. 0 deaths. Brown recluse, I don't want to look up that number. I had a neighbor, next door neighbor. I pulled up and I hadn't seen him in like a week or something. I saw his wife. And he's out in the front yard, and he's like, "Hey, Jimmy." I said, "Hey, what's going on?" I said, "Where have you been?" And, normally I saw him every day. And he goes, "Man, and he turns around and he pulls up his shirt. And he goes, "I got bit by a brown recluse." I was like, dude, oh my God, what? And it was gnarly. And I'm not going to describe what I saw, but it was horrific. And he goes, "Look really close. You'll see the spider bite in the middle," which was that big. It's this big, little tiny dot. And that's it. So, wow. Did you go to the hospital? Well, you did, right? What did they do? Anti-venom?
This one wasn't that bad. I have, it's happened to me twice. And the first one, I had the necrotizing tissue, which was not, this one was just painful. And it was right on the, like the sole of my foot. And it just it's hurt for a week. But now it's starting to go away. So I don't think I got a really bad one. But it's the same thing. So,
yeah, I live out here in the desert, so there's all kinds of crazy stuff that humans have never seen before. I discover a new species every day of something, and crazy insects. I'm walking out onto the back patio, out the screen door. We were talking about that earlier today, right? Spider webs, and but I walked through, and the spider web. This was about 3 months ago. It hit me in the face, and I just happened to look up, and in the corner, right above my head, it was a black widow, big, ginormous. And I just kind of scooted around, and I grabbed the spatula from my grill and said, "You know what?" And I just picked her up, and she crawled onto the spatula. I just walked out to the yard and flinged her and let her go and live her life. But no, you're not going to camp out right above my head where I walk out of the sliding door. But are you feeling better?
Oh yeah. It's going away. It was I was limping around though from it.
Yeah. Did you see? So in the house,
in the studio, literally 3 feet that way.
Oh man.
And it was in there while I was on with you the last time.
Okay. All right. Knock on wood. Fingers crossed. We're going to get through this show. What did it? We've got a lot to talk about tonight, and a lot of things. But just one quick question: what did it feel like when it happened?
Didn't feel a thing either time.
That's what I've heard.
You just notice it the next day.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. That's crazy.
Yeah,
that's crazy. All right. Well, I'm glad you're feeling better. I mean, just to mention, when I was probably like in second grade. When you really absorb stuff for the rest of your life, right? And carries with you. I remember my second grade teacher, black widows, this, and what you want to know, brown recluse. And she showed a picture, right? And you're like in second grade, you're like, what? And that's what you want to be scared of. And for the rest of my life, that's it. I was warned. All right. Now, because we have so much to discuss tonight, John, if you don't mind, I just want to jump straight into it. And my opening, and I know that you were listening earlier, when I was talking about the ability of humans to ponder, is an extraordinary gift that humans have been blessed with. And I don't know if other species on this planet have the ability to ponder. I don't know what they ponder about, but the James Webb Space Telescope is allowing all of us to ponder in our own little way, in our own little world. How is it that we have the gift? You have the gift to ponder, to look at these images. Today we were talking about a couple of the images, and your thoughts, that you're mentioning aren't my ponderings, right? You understand what I'm saying, right? I mean, it's the way that we perceive images and thoughts and music and stuff. Why do we have that gift?
Well, I think that our evolution must have been dependent on our increasing intelligence, keeping us alive. And the reason that we're here and other species of human like Homo erectus or whatever, they are not here is because they didn't have the wide ability and the wide diet, to think about, can I eat that berry or whatever? And they didn't survive. Whereas we did, simply because we have that wide variety and ability to say, well, what if, and that seems to be one of the things that divides the hominids, is that we're the first ones that were really adaptable because we can ask these kinds of questions. And from there, it just, as you discover the universe, your natural curiosity and everything that's instilled in humanity just keeps that going.
Well, and it's got to be all DNA based, right? I mean, it just has to be the hunting ability of different animals and predators. That's a gift that we don't have. Smelling blood from 10 miles away and being able to track or whatever, the nocturnal, these things. Well, that's a DNA gift. It's not necessarily something that's taught. So it's DNA. So is it just in our DNA?
Well, it's initially in our DNA. Our ability to be intelligent is obviously governed by the power of our brain, which is governed by genetics. And so in that sense, yes, that's absolutely correct. In another sense, though, is that, you can foster and teach a kid to be more curious than they would have been without it,
Oh, yeah. Well, that was heavy. That was heavy. Right. So without it's in your DNA, but you have to be taught how to use it.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. And you can hone it, it's like a skill, and that's why, if your kid shows any interest in science, buy them a telescope and a microscope,
Oh, and when the James Webb, right? Well, you know what? I've got a telescope. It hasn't helped me yet, but let's see if it. maybe I'll be in Mensa in 6 months because of that telescope. We'll see what happens. The images. Now let's back up for a second because Hubble, and I've talked about this for so many years. Hubble, and when Hubble's first images started coming back to us, and we were comparing them to, pixelated satellite images, number one, and number two, our ground-based telescopes, which have gotten bigger and better, and depending on where they are, and with the atmosphere interfering or not, have been pretty incredible. But then Hubble comes along, and we thought there's no way that it could ever get better than this. And we were able to look at those images. When you first saw the Hubble Deep Field, which was probably one of the biggest game changer in human history, those images when they came in, and now you're looking at the James Webb Space Telescope's images today, same impact for you?
Yeah, it is. I actually have a different one though. The deep field was amazing, I absolutely love it, and just the idea of seeing gravitarity just is amazing to me. But what really amazes me about this telescope so far is the Exoplanet Wasp 96b, where James Webb was able to image this as it transited in front of its star and essentially see the weather. In other words, you're looking at the weather of an exoplanet immense, amounts of distance away. And you can actually tell that there's water vapor active in its atmosphere from the James Webb data. This is in contrast to what we knew about this exoplanet, because the last measurements done seem to show that, number one, we saw sodium, which you normally wouldn't see. And number two, from that observation of sodium, they concluded that it had no clouds. Well, with the James Webb data, that revises that science and says, no, there are clouds. So we might have actually just caught that planet on a cloudless day, and now it's got a weather system, and that we're actually able to see some type of weather on an exoplanet that's light years away. There was a time.
I've just posted up the data. There's a few different images of the WASP out there, and I thought that this was the best graphic to that. This is an interpolation of the actual data as it came in, but this is the WASP data, and walk us through this because. First off, what's the distance here?
WASP 96b. I'm not actually sure. We can find out in 2 seconds, though.
Yeah, and so again, talking about the ability to ponder and to think about things, to look up at the stars and wonder if there's an exoplanet out there, another planet. Is one thing, but the ability now to go, and I agree with you, the ability to not just see and detect an exoplanet, but to now look at its atmosphere and measure its breakdown. That's absolute crazy town to me.
It is extremely distant. It's at 1,200 light years away.
Yeah, that's crazy. 1,200 light years.
Yep. And we have some sense of its weather because of the clear detection of water vapor in the atmosphere. And how do you do that with James Webb? Is you wait for the star to start passing in front, or you wait for the planet actually to start passing in front of its host star. And as it does that, the light from the background star is altered by the atmosphere of the exoplanet, and that lets you see and glimpse what chemicals are there through
a spectrum breakdown, a spectrum analysis.
That's right. And Webb is very good at that. And I was just looking at the observation lists, the ongoing observation lists, and they're just looking at all sorts of exoplanets this week. And in addition to that, they've been doing observations of the TRAPPIST-1 system, which is probably the most interesting exoplanet system we have so far. And they're taking a look at that. So expect a lot of science and a lot of papers coming out in the next few months regarding TRAPPIST-1 in particular.
Well, and TRAPPIST-1, don't be confused with the number 1. There's 7 exoplanets in that star system.
3 within the habitable zone of the star.
That is correct. Yep. And one specifically, and I've looked at some of the comments from some of the astrophysicists talking about TRAPPIST-1, they absolutely believe one has life.
Yeah,
they're trying to disprove it. Is what they're trying to do.
It very well could, and Webb will be able to see that, because what you look for, the first thing that you would look for is disequilibriums in gases. In other words, oxygen is really reactive, and it likes to combine with other stuff. So when you see oxygen in an atmosphere, if it's in a disequilibrium like Earth has way too much oxygen for its own, ability to produce it. That's when you know that you're looking at photosynthesis.
There's an actual biosphere.
There's an actual biosphere there. So that's one of the first things I'll look at is gas disequilibriums to see, because if you got a disequilibrium, it means that something is replenishing that gas as it reacts away. And you look for that. You look for methane. Gases that break down and need to be replenished. So that's one of the ways that you do it. You look for a biosphere. But there's other things you can do. If you start looking at exoplanets and you see weird spikes in the chemistry, such as those produced by Freon, CFCs, there's a civilization there.
Yeah, somebody's using a lot of Aquanet hairspray.
Yep.
And see, and here's the thing, and I don't say that in a jest way. I'm saying that like in a very factual manner. When you look at the breakdown here of the WASP spectrum analysis, where they've detected water, they've detected methane, they've detected carbon dioxide, they detected ozone, which is what you just brought up.
Mm-hmm.
That is pretty telling. It feels like Earth, doesn't it?
It does, except that it's the wrong kind of planet. It's a big gas giant, and the reason that it was chosen was because it was big and visible. Where Webb will contract down a bit, though, is when you get into terrestrial worlds and trying to figure those out, it can't do those at great distance.
Now, can we talk just real briefly before the break? We hear about gas giants like Jupiter, which could have the makings of becoming a star, or maybe it's a failed star. It just didn't do what it needed to do, or whatever. But there is no actual terra firma, right? They may be circular, they may be beautiful, spherical, beautiful, but there's no rocks.
There is and there isn't. Way deep into a gas giant like Jupiter, there probably is a rocky core. That's the material from the protoplanetary disk that it coalesced out of. So there probably is an Earth-sized core there, which is the real planet Jupiter. Then it's surrounded by essentially a very calm ocean. And that ocean is from metallic hydrogen. And this is hydrogen that is compacted so densely that it actually exists in its metallic form. And it's one of the weirder substances in the universe, because if that model is correct, which is, it hasn't been proven, but it probably is correct, then metallic hydrogen, in addition to being compact like that, we think it might be metastable. In other words, you could actually remove metallic hydrogen and have it off the gas giant. And that'd be pretty strange stuff. So you've got that. And then above that, as the pressure decreases, the higher you get, that's where you get the gaseous hydrogen and helium envelope that covers a gas giant. And they probably all work very similar to this. Where it gets weird
is it possible? Well, I just cut you off, GMG. I apologize for that. But is it possible for life to develop on a planet like that? And if it did, would you live in cities that floated instead of on the surface of metallic hydrogen oceans, which sounds beautiful, by the way?
It probably wouldn't be there, but there has been some hypotheses that you could have a situation where in the upper atmosphere of a gas giant, clinging to water vapor droplets, you could have some form of life. Now, that would be something like microbial life. The problem is how does it get started? So it almost would have to be contamination that was there, some panspermic meteorite deposited, some microbial life there. But that people have gone further, and most notably with gas giant life was Carl Sagan, who envisioned an entire ecosystem evolving in the upper atmosphere of a gas giant. And he saw gigantic gas bags that float around, and predatory things that eat them, and all these sorts of things. But that was 35 years ago, and it's hard to envision that life can get that far. But at the same time, every time we say life can't do something, it does it. So
right. We've got to take a break, but here's a question that you can answer really quickly, and it's going to set up for everything that is about to follow after the break. A spectrum analysis is something that can happen absolutely quickly once you get the data. So when you have a transiting planet, something passing in front of a star, and you take those images, pretty much the analysis is instantaneous after that, right? We don't have to wait for months. The analysis can be done very quickly.
Yeah, in that case, it's fairly straightforward because the raw data is pretty easy to process. It's when you get into the imagery that it takes a bit longer. But they can do it. They can do it in a matter of, even a complex image they can do in a matter of a few days.
Yeah, that's crazy, isn't it? Isn't that just now? One last. This is another quick question. Do you think that now NASA has already answered this question and said no, but I don't believe them. Okay. And I think that things can be modified. But do you think that the James Webb would be able to see a technosignature of a lit up city during the night?
Okay. The how that works. Yes. In principle, you can do that. And there have been papers on detecting artificial lighting at exoplanets. And there's one even further than that. I'll get to that in a minute. But yes, you might be able to do it as long as the exoplanet is close. However, there's another option. And Webb could definitely do this. Look for it on Oort cloud bodies and see if there is streetlights in the Oort cloud on these Kuiper Belt objects. And
now,
I suggested in a paper because it's eminently doable. We can do it with any large telescope based on Earth, and do a technosignature search close in just to see. You never know.
Right. Avi speculated, Avi Loeb of Harvard. He's spoken about this and he's written about it too as well. Where would it be possible if we had a satellite-based telescope positioned out at the end of everything here, in Pluto's orbit, and turn around and looked back at Earth, would we be able to see cities on Earth during the night? And it wasn't clearly answered, but he thinks it's doable. We're not, we're talking about looking out into other star systems. He was contemplating the ability just to prove it, here in our own solar system. And that hasn't firmly been answered yet. And so how could we do it with, say, WASP or something else or TRAPPIST? TRAPPIST isn't that far away.
It was 40 light years, I think, something like that.
Yeah, 40. It's next door. Yeah. Well, let's take our break right here. Our guest tonight, John Michael Godier, the Event Horizon. Actually, there's no it's just Event Horizon. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Our guest tonight, John Michael Godier. We're going to take a quick break. We will be right back. More on the James Webb Space Telescope. We've got some crazy images coming up. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Stay with us.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network.
Your 1 million gigawatt paranormal powerhouse, KUNX-DB, VX.
Oh, Fadernauts, Jimmy Church here. You've seen me with my Thunderstorm. Now you can purify the air in your home and get healthy, clean, fresh-smelling air and eliminate odors just like I do right here in the bunker. The EdenPURE Thunderstorm uses oxy technology that naturally sends out O3 molecules into the air, which seek out odors and air pollutants in your home and destroys them. It's called a thunderstorm because it purifies the air just like after a thunderstorm. And right now, you can save $200 on an EdenPURE Thunderstorm 3-pack for whole home protection. With this special offer, you're getting 3 units for under $200. Seriously. Go to EdenPureDeals.com and use Fader3. Shipping is free and it's easy. Just scroll down. you'll see my name right there, Jimmy Church. Click on it and get your deal today. That's EdenPureDeals.com.
This is Billy Carson, founder and CEO of ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. ForbiddenKnowledge.tv is the fastest growing and one of the most watched networks in the world. And I would like to personally invite you to check out our expanding library of TV, film, lectures, and special presentations. ForbiddenKnowledge.tv has over 6,000 videos covering lost history, health, UFOs, spirituality, and our future. We are committed to our community, and with my personal invitation, you can right now get your own free 30-day membership at ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. Your own library of information starts today at ForbiddenKnowledge.tv.
Because you never got that pony you always wanted. Damn it. Jimmy Church and Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network.
Listen, I know, and you know, that you've always wanted your first crystal skull. Or maybe you're a collector just like me, but you just don't know where to go to find the real thing. Then I met Carolyn Ford over at EinsteinTheCrystalSkull.com. Carolyn is the guardian of Einstein, one of the most respected ancient crystal skulls in the world. All of her unique skulls have been imprinted sitting with Einstein in his sacred lodge and are carved from the finest gemstone and materials. Imprinting is the process of receiving the ancient wisdom from the master skull or master computer, Einstein, the ancient crystal skull. To see Carolyn's current collection of crystal skulls, just visit her store at EinsteinTheCrystalSkull.com or click on the banner over on our site. Don't forget to use the promo code Jimmy at checkout to receive 10% off of your order today. That's promo code Jimmy. Finding your first or next crystal skull is easy. Just visit EinsteinTheCrystalSkull.com.
Hello, I'm Katie, and you're listening to my main man, Jimmy Church, on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Hi, this is Ray Hobbs here, repping the planet, and you're listening to my good friend, Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
This is Toby Kebbell. You're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com. Don't hurt me, Jimmy. I'm only little.
Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier, and this is Ari Gold. We're the Honey Brothers. We're of the Honey Brothers. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier, and I'm Ari Gold. We're the Honey Brothers, and you're listening to Jimmy Church. The Revolution.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and you can become an official Fadernaut by just going to our membership section at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Hello, this is Serena Wright Taylor from Conscious Life Expo, and you're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church, who holds the Lucky Pony record for the best astrological chart since 1963. True story.
This is Micah Hanks of the Gralien Report, and you're listening to Jimmy Church on Fade to Black.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, John Michael Godier is with us, Event Horizon. And right now, you can get the EdenPURE Thunderstorm. This is mine. This is the one I have here in the studio. You can plug it in the wall. I use USB, which is right here. It's got a little dial on the side, max, and all of that stuff. And you can purify your air. You can kill viruses. But the point is, smells great, and you can't hear it. And you can put one in your car, one in the kitchen. They have a 3-pack deal going on right now just for the Fadernauts. 3-pack, where you are going to save over $200 and get free shipping. Just click on the link below, simple promo code FADER3, and you can be just like Jimmy. You can smell fresh. All right. No word on what it does with brown recluse spiders, but I'll see if I can get some data on that. And there you go. All right. Our guest tonight, the one and only, Jean-Michael Godier. Now, JGM, man, you know what? I never call you by your name. You know, I kind of noticed that in our emails and things, and when we talk on the phone, you got too many cool things going on, man.
Yeah, I My name sounds like I should be playing hockey up in Canada, and there's a reason for that because I'm connected to Montreal. So,
well, okay, but you've got all your front teeth though.
I
So
do.
You're not a hockey.
I hadn't say I was good at hockey, but
yeah, that's right though. And now coming onto the ice, Michael Godier from Jean Kier High School. I want to. We've been talking about the deep field, and the first images. I'm gonna pop one up here. There's two I'm gonna show, but here we go. And man, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that the Hubble. I went back and I did what everybody else did. I went back and looked at the Hubble. I know that you did too.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, and then you come back to it's like night and day doesn't do this justice in comparisons. The richness of the detail, the focus, and things you can see down to levels of precision that you just can't imagine this. But here it is; it's going on in real time. Tell us about your thoughts when you first saw the James Webb's deep field.
My first initial deep field observation was on the gravitational lensing and how clear it was as opposed to Hubble.
Okay, stop. Okay, actually, I'm just going to let everybody know. It's right here in my notes. Gravitational lensing. Okay, this is a complex issue, and we need to explain to the audience exactly what it is, because NASA and others just say gravitational lensing, and they just, it's just something that a term that's thrown about. Like everybody understands what they're referring to. This is a very complex phenomenon, and it's amazing, but nobody really understands. So we're going to be talking about that a lot tonight. What is gravitational lensing?
Okay, this goes back to Albert Einstein and his predictions of his theory of relativity or theories. And what it is that gravity is capable of bending space-time. That's what it is a warp in space-time caused by the presence of an object. So if you think about it like your bed, all right, and you put a bowling ball right in the center of the bed, it makes an indentation. And that curve of the sheets going down to the bowling ball is how space behaves. As a matter of fact, Einstein's mathematics that he used are essentially the same physical mathematics that you would use to describe a trampoline bending. It's that sort of tensor type stuff. Well, when light gets near an intense gravitational source, such as an entire galaxy, it's visibly bent. And so what you see in the deep field from both Webb and Hubble, you see these arcs of light. And what those are distorted galaxies behind the object being bent around and distorted from your point of view. And usually that foreground object is definitely in the case of Webb is a galaxy, a foreground galaxy. And it's the entire collective gravity of all those stars bending the light around. But it's just because space-time can curve in the presence of gravity and warp.
And you can see it occurring throughout this image right here. And in fact, anywhere where you just fix your eyes, just pick a point of light and you will see gravitational lensing occurring right there.
Now, what's important about this is that we can actually use gravitational lensing in certain instances as a tool. We can make it into a telescope. And the first idea of just this naturally happening and getting lucky is something that James Webb looked at just today and released an image. And it's a star called Earendel. And Earendel,
I actually have it here. Go ahead, continue. I'm going to pull that up.
This star is the most distant single object we can see. And what's happening with Earendel is that it is so distant that we're seeing it. We're looking back in time as we look out into the universe. You look back in time, and we're seeing it just 900 million years after the Big Bang. Whereas in a universe that's 13.8 billion years old. So we're seeing this very, very early star. It's called a population 3. It's the third incarnation of stars that were present in the universe after the Big Bang. And as a result, it has almost no heavier elements in it. It's just a big ball of hydrogen, helium, and a little bit of lithium. And that tells you it's very early, because as stars get older, they explode in supernovas, and they populate the area around them with heavier elements. And so when you look at a star like the sun, you see all kinds of elements in it. Well, in this case, you don't, and that tells you it's early. The other thing is that because it's being gravitationally lensed, and it's just a chance event for us to even be able to pick the star out, because that's happening, we're also seeing something that is no longer there, because Arendelle, at the size that it is, at 50 to 100 times the size of the sun, has long ago exploded as a supernova. So we're seeing a ghost.
This is the image here.
That is the Southern Ring Nebula, I think. And,
okay. I thought I had today's image, which is the Cartwheel Galaxy, but
that was the Cartwheel Galaxy. Arendelle is different. That one also just came out.
Yeah, and I thought I had it here. I guess I don't. I apologize, everybody. I don't have Arendelle. I'll have it for the next break, though. I'll pull it up. Let's actually. I want to go back to the deep field, which is this one, because they did what the same process that they did with the Hubble, which they took the deep field, then they took an area of the deep field that was minus anything interesting, or the least interesting part of the image, and then did another exposure, which with Hubble, they did a 2-week exposure on this. Hubble does it in what? James Webb does it in 12 hours, I think, right? Mm-hmm. Am I correct?
Much faster.
Much faster. And this is the deep field that was released first, and then they released this image, and I believe it's from the center of this image, and this is what they came back with. And now the other thing,
that's the Arendelle image.
Oh, that's the Arendelle image.
Arendelle image. Yep.
I knew I grabbed it.
Yep.
I knew I grabbed it. But NASA did a press release on this. And so I'll come back to Arendelle in just a second. And in the press release, when they did the deep field, I used to have this shocking thing that I would do at conferences. So I'd walk out, big crowd. And this is how I would start my presentation. I'd go up to somebody in the front row and go, "Hey, man, you got a dime?" Somebody would dig in their pocket and give me a dime. And I go, "Okay, you take this dime and you go out in your backyard and you pick a spot in the sky with no stars and you hold up this dime. You are now looking at 150,000 galaxies." And everybody would go, "Oh, man, that's amazing. Really, is that true?" And people would come up to me and ask me, and that was my thing. That was my shtick, right? Okay. So they do this press release. What do they do? What do they announce? Well, this is, if you hold up a grain of sand at arm's length, you're looking at 150,000 galaxies. And so it I don't know if somebody from NASA was at one of my presentations, but the point being that I would go out and talk about this dime, and now NASA's coming back with, well, no, this is a grain of sand in the night sky, and this is what you are seeing. This is monumental, isn't it? This kind of thought process that you are looking at that many galaxies, everywhere you move that grain of sand in the night sky, that is what you're going to see.
Well, and you can flip it around and say that there are more galaxies in the universe, in the observable universe, than there are grains of sand on Earth.
Yeah. That's crazy, right? Mm-hmm. Like, if you go out to the biggest beach that you can imagine, that you barefooted on when you were a kid, the biggest beach and all that sand, and you pick up one grain of sand, that's our sun. That's what, and then it's the whole Earth. It's not just that beach, right? That's mind-bending.
Each one of those galaxies in the deep field consists of between, on average, 1 to 200 billion stars. And they probably are outnumbered in that galaxy by planets. So even then, just the math of it all says there just has to be enormous amounts of analogs of Earth that could well have life and could well have intelligence and hope civilizations.
Now, okay, so let's stay on this grains of sand analogy, and it's mind blowing to us because we live here and we see what sand is, right? But in the big picture, Earth is just so insignificant, right?
Insignificant. Yep.
It's completely insignificant. So, is the same analogy the same? You could almost say metaphor. The same view, can you apply that to life too as well? Is there as much life out there as we have grains of sand?
Well, that's just the question, and that's a two-part question. The first is there life defined as microbial, simple life? Very, very, very easily there could be many, many, many millions or billions or trillions of occurrences of microbial life in the universe, because the more we find out bits and pieces of the puzzle on how abiogenesis occurred on Earth, it turns out it's easier than we thought. And this was driven home recently with discovery that RNA, we have been looking at all of these complex ways that maybe how RNA could have come about, in nature. And then all of a sudden, some scientists found that it happens when you percolate water through volcanic rock and you just have the right chemicals, and there it is. It pops out. And it's an experiment that can be done in a high school classroom. So, and will be. So it turned out easier, and we were just overcooking the turkey looking for these really, really complex ways to do this when the answer was simple. And that keeps happening. So that's sort of pointing the arrow in the direction that microbial life is not that big of a deal to get going. The problem is that once microbial life started on Earth, it froze and sat there. It just sat there, not doing much of anything for 1.8 billion years before the prokaryotic to eukaryotically occurred. And that's where maybe the filter is that maybe the reason we don't see technosignatures everywhere is because it's a lot harder to get past that stage once you have it. So it's a universe maybe that teems with microbial life, but only occasionally does it get anywhere further. And then to get to us, a whole lot of things had to happen on this planet to just sort of get there. And for most of this planet's existence with complex macrofauna, there was nothing here. It was dinosaurs,
Well, yes. Okay, so you have to have. I'm just going to say it. You have to have the right biosphere. Mm-hmm. We didn't have the right biosphere for the first 2 billion years of this planet. We had lots of volcanic activity, right?
Yeah.
We had molten lava surface here, and it took everything else, comets crashing in, the arrival of water, and then atmospheric change to allow the other stuff to have a happy dance. But before that, the ingredients were here, but there wasn't an oven to cook it in.
That's right. And there's also other possibilities hiding in there, because during the time when life arose on Earth was not the optimum planet to produce life. Mars was actually a better environment in those days than Earth was. So you got to ask the question, did life originally arise on Mars and get deposited here? I mean, are we Martians?
Mm-hmm.
So there's all kinds of interesting questions that in the coming decades we should be able to answer.
Now, the $1 million question, then we're going to get back to some of these images, is when we talk about life, that's one thing. Life is everywhere. I think we can all accept that. I mean, at the very smallest of levels, but something more advanced than us, not dinosaurs. That would be cool. Not reptile. Something more advanced than us. That's the question. And how much of that do you think is just in our Milky Way?
Well, I don't know. You can't really put a number on it because we don't know. You have to remember that. We have to make assumptions about intelligent alien life, and the first is we have to assume that we know what that would look like. So if you got a civilization that's 100,000 years more advanced than humans, how do we envision what that looks like so we would know what to look for? As Arthur Clarke said, any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. So you may see a cloud of gas out in the interstellar medium and say, well, it's just a cloud of gas. But then in reality, it was a cloud of nanotechnological assembler robots and things like that. You wouldn't know, So you have to make the assumption that you would know what you're looking for. All we can do is say, well, we don't know, but we can try certain things. And trying certain things includes radio telescopes, where you're looking for signals and of technological origin, because what you can do is tell, technological signals are technological signals. That type of stuff doesn't occur in nature, so that you're looking for the type of thing that our technology produces. But that's not to say an alien even still uses radio. We don't know, and as a result, so the answer there to the Fermi Paradox is simply that we don't know how to look for aliens, and I'd say that's probably a pretty strong candidate, because we really make a lot of assumptions when we try to envision what aliens would or would not do.
Well, okay, so the correct answer, without giving it a number, is just a lot.
It could be a lot. It could be. Well, there are things that govern it. I mean, if all alien civilizations almost immediately go extinct when they hit a technological age, say they only last 300-400 years in a technological age, then there's probably only one in the galaxy at any given time. But if you take it as the whole history of the galaxy of 13.8 billion years, and you're looking at all the extinct species, there's probably, I would say, you could make a case that there's been quite a few, but we don't know, They may even be common, and we just don't know what we're looking at. And we barely looked. SETI has barely looked. It's going to be 30, 40 years before we're in territory where we can say, well, why are we not finding anything? Something's weird here. But we're nowhere near that territory yet.
No, we're not. And if we've only logged in officially 5,000 exoplanets, we've got another 10,000 candidates, and exponentially that number is increasing every single day. I mean, it's crazy now with our ability to select candidates, but it's time and it's a numbers game. Mm-hmm. And the way that everything is being looked at now, with sections of the sky, the southern horizon, the northern side of things, where you are looking at 20,000 planets or 20,000 stars per sector, and getting this done. And with tests, we're going to try to do most of this in the next 2 years. With only 5,000 exoplanets right now in the books, we are going to have to analyze the data. At some point, it's not going to be computers doing this. It's manhand doing most of the legwork right now, but you still have to get humans involved to look at the data, mm-hmm. and see what is real and what is not. And we are going to have a backlog of hundreds of thousands of planets very soon. And so now it just becomes a numbers game, doesn't it? That if that's what we can see, if that is where we are right now, which is not much, and there are trillions just in our Milky Way to go and analyze, it's just probably never going to get done.
No, at some point it becomes physically impossible to carry.
Right.
And you know, you've got another wild card here. You've got the ice shell moons. You know, we've got a bunch of oceans locked underneath ice in these moons, like Ganymede and Io, and well, not Io, but Europa and Enceladus. And we've got tons of those, and any one of them could host an oceanic biosphere. Any one of them. So we don't know yet what the rules are, you know, on how that kind of life could work. And we won't know till we drill into one and, you know, take a look. But if those things end up having life and things, the analogs of fish or whatever, then this universe, it just got way better because they are way more common sources of liquid water than an Earth-like planet is.
When we talk about looking at the oldest galaxy so far, the oldest star so far, the oldest this, which direction are we looking in? In other words, okay, the Big Bang, right? Boom, universe out this way. So we are not looking to the center of the universe. We're looking to the edges of the universe.
Well, the rule on that is that the universe does not seem to have a center. And there's a really good reason for that, because if you think about a center of a basketball or a center of a circle, you can determine that because you've got a point of reference to figure out what the center is. And there are different points of references, different types of centers. There's things like a center of rotation. In other words, you're watching a bicycle wheel and you can see where the center of rotation is. The universe doesn't have one. There's center of mass. Universe doesn't have one. You can establish a center of charge. Universe doesn't have one. You can there's even sort of like, think of it like a bowl, like a salad bowl. You can even figure out where that curvature meets and you can make a center.
Mm-hmm.
The universe's geometry is flat. It doesn't have such a thing.
It doesn't make any sense.
And then finally, in regards to what you're explaining, that's called a center of expansion, meaning it's like an explosion and it's going out from one single point.
Well, isn't that what we were taught?
That's what we're conventionally, that's how we think. We think in terms of an explosion. So the center must be where the explosives were.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is that doesn't really work for the universe, because the universe includes the space itself. So in other words, space itself didn't exist. It's part of the Big Bang. Therefore, it just expands out. And if there were a center of the universe and it did work like an explosion, we would see the cosmic microwave background radiation coming from one point, the center of the universe. We don't. It comes in from all directions. Any direction we look, it's the same. So it means that space-time itself was, you know, the reference point was part of the Big Bang, and that the correct answer to where did the universe begin isn't a point, because space was created by it. It comes down to one word: nothing.
But then, okay, I've got to take a break. But we're measuring the temperature, right? And so we can see the temperature changes in the expansion.
We can see that. We can see that we can see quite a bit from it. It's just that we can't establish a center point because there is no reference to do so.
We don't know where the Big Bang happened, is what you're saying.
We don't know. And the reality is that what the universe tells us through observation is that it is, number one, its geometry is flat, which means that you can run two railroad tracks all the way across the universe and they will never meet. So there is no overall curvature that we can discern to space. There's local curvature and there's curvature in, you know, time, things like that, fourth dimension type stuff. But that doesn't matter. In 3 dimensions, it's flat. And that suggests only a handful of possible geometries for the universe. The other problem is that the universe, we can only see a part of it, the observable universe. We have no idea how much further it extends.
And how much has left us.
So the thing is that everything that we see that the universe is showing us so far is that it's infinite.
So what you have just told me, and I've got to take a break, and I'm going to cut JMG off right now so he can't answer what I'm about to say. You have just told us that there was no Big Bang. And with that, we're going to take our break right here. I don't get it. I simply don't understand. Doesn't make any sense. This is Fade to Black. Well, it makes sense if there was no Big Bang. This is Fade to Black. Our guest tonight, John Michael Godier. We'll be right back after this short break. Stay with us.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
You're listening to Jimmy Church and Fade to Black on the X.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
The Believer is the chilling true story of Dr. John Mack, a renowned Harvard psychiatrist and Pulitzer Prize winner.
This is an outreach program from the cosmos to the consciously impaired.
He risked it all to investigate human encounters with aliens. The Believer, Alien Encounters, Hard Science, and the Passion of John Mack. Written by award-winning former New York Times journalist and author Ralph Blumenthal. Now available in paperback from High Road Books.
Introducing the Game Changer blend from River Moon Coffee that delivers a customized blend made specifically for the Fadernauts. If the game is rigged, change the game. It's a bolder cup with some bite. Game Changer is the coffee of choice for those that prefer an organic dark roast that is slightly lighter and milder, but it's still dark. With wild notes of pecans and chocolate with a rich, balanced, full-bodied cup that is roasted to perfection for a great coffee to start your day, as an after-dinner coffee or anywhere in between. Artisan, small batch roasted to perfection. USDA certified organic, all River Moon coffee is freshly roasted and packaged in the USA. Just go to rivermooncoffee.com or click on the banners over on our site and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. rivermooncoffee.com. Do you want to be an official Fadernaut? Of course you do. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black. Just go to our membership section at jimmychurchradio.com. Fadernauts, when you think about the future of our country and where we're headed, do you wonder about the food supply? I do. Disruptions in the food supply chain could be disastrous, and they usually occur with little warning. That's why the smartest thing you can do today is to stockpile emergency food, water, and other essentials. I personally recommend My Patriot Supply. They're the nation's largest emergency preparedness company, serving millions of customers for more than a decade. In fact, they're the only source my family trusts for our preparedness plan. You should too. Right now, save 20% off a full 4-week supply of delicious meals that provide 2,000 calories a day. Saving 20% helps too, doesn't it? Especially now. So go to preparewithjimmy.com and get ready. That's preparewithjimmy.com. There's no time to lose. Do it now.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
You listen to us, and we listen to you. And so does the CIA.
Hi, I'm Ray Sobbs, and I'm here to tell you about something I really think you're going to like. The UNX Network is a part of a larger group called UNX Media, and one of the things we offer is the quarterly UNX magazine, which is available both in print and digital formats. This amazing magazine covers all aspects of the unexplained and makes for a great coffee table periodical that is certain to spark enlightening conversations in your living rooms. We invite you to check out the latest digital issue for free. Just go to unxnetwork.com/membership and fill out your free membership with your name and email and become a new free member. The new summer issue is now available, and the theme is Time Anomalies, which includes a feature article written by our managing editor, Lee Spiegel. Just go to unxnetwork.com/memberships. That's unxnetwork.com/memberships and get your free e-copy of the UNX magazine today.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, John Michael Godier. Event Horizon is with us. All of his links are below and also over on our website and throughout social media. And seriously, Event Horizon is just an incredible show. And I don't, a couple of things before we get, I don't know who your announcer is, your voiceover person, but she's amazing. And
she was actually in the chat, Erin Knight.
Is she really?
Yeah, I think she was.
Who? Who was she in the chat?
Erin Knight, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
Yeah, she was in there.
She makes you smarter than you are. You know that,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, absolutely. Oh, yes. I'm just the ear candy. The production team, Ross and Aaron, I could not do that without them. I can't.
Yeah, it's just absolutely incredible. It's such a great program, and also we're not prepared to do anything formal. We won't do it tonight, but we'll do it soon. We've got a very interesting project that we're going to be working on together later on this month. And I'm very excited about that, and I can't wait to make that announcement, and it's going to be very cool. It's definitely a yin and yang. You know, you're just here to make me look good, Jean-Michael, and let's not.
Not the first time that's been said to me.
Right. Okay, so I know I was kind of cracking a joke, but there's been earlier before the break. But there's actually been some realistic conversation about whether or not there was actually a Big Bang. And if everything is moving in its own direction, and I've had many smart people explain this to me. Like, for instance, the best example I can give on that is, okay, so if there was, this tiny pin, boom, bam, everything happened, and that's the Big Bang, right? Something from nothing. Well, that would indicate to me that everything blasted out from a central source that you had mentioned earlier. That makes a lot of sense. And everything would be moving in a direction, and we are observing that. Except galaxies and things are going in every direction, and Andromeda is going to collide with us. Now, that wouldn't make any sense if everything was just moving in the same direction. We would be moving along with Andromeda, right? But that's not the case. We are actually going to collide, and galaxies do that all the time. So if that is the case, how is it possible to know what is the oldest thing that we have ever seen if everything is moving in its own direction? I mean, how would we determine the age of something from something else?
Well, it's based on this. You can tell distance by redshift because the expansion of the universe in between two objects will redshift light. So you look at, and this is the main reason why JWST is an infrared telescope, is because of that redshift. So it can look at the most distant galaxies because they're all redshifted from the expansion of the universe.
Okay, but here's the but though, and this is okay. So now let's take a look. I've looked at maps of the observable universe done by temperature and other ways, and you've seen the same analysis that I have. Okay, so if we're looking at the observable universe and it's 90 billion light years across, which is a crazy amount of time, distance, I should say, not time. But if this is, the farthest distances away, but what if a galaxy is traveling this way through the center of the observable universe? It could be older than everything else, but closer to us than the stuff that is distant. And so how would we know the ages of things if they are moving against each other arbitrarily? It doesn't make any sense.
There's a bunch of different ways. One of them, and how this was originally done by Edwin Hubble back in the early 20th century, was looking at something called a Cepheid Variable, and that gives you what's called a standard candlestick, and you're able to work out distances, rough distances anyway, based on Cepheid variables in other galaxies that you can see. They're stars that vary in brightness on a known scale, and they have a method of doing that. That's one way to tell distance. Another way to do it much closer, and this is one of the ways we establish distances inside the Milky Way galaxy, is through parallax, and we actually have a spacecraft called Gaia that does that. And it's the same effect that parallax is the same effect as if positions seem to move when you open and close one eye independently of each other, and that's how it works. And you're able to determine distances that way. So there's a mixed bag of tricks astronomers have to determine distances. Sometimes, though, it can be pretty tricky, because if for some reason some of that information is obscured, or there's just no good way to tell, then it can be a big question mark. However, to your point about the Big Bang and whether or not it happened, well, we have a lot of evidence for it, because if it didn't happen, then what created the cosmic microwave background radiation? What created the apparent expansion of the universe that Edwin Hubble discovered, and things like that? So you got to have some other mechanism to create that. But here's the weird thing: something from nothing or something from something. If it was something from nothing, then it was just some quantum fluctuation that randomly happened, and boom, it expanded, and there's a universe. But that brings in a question: can you repeat it? And there are hypotheses that we could, in a particle accelerator, somewhat more powerful than anything we have right now, but not that powerful. If we could find something called a monopole, which are theorized to exist, we might be able to create a situation where a universe comes out of the quantum foam in the particle accelerator, and boom, it's a wormhole that leads to another universe that's expanding on its own, and we just created a universe. And that's actually one of the most straightforward artificial things we can do with nature is to do this. But that's kind of a problem, because if we can do it in the lab, well, how does nature do it on its own? Is it more likely that this universe is artificial and has been created by some scientists in another universe? And those are questions that have yet to be asked. And when we do that experiment and try to create a universe, if we're successful, we're going to have to ask some really serious existential questions about our situation.
Yeah, completely existential. And here's the other complex issue. And again, we're talking about the James Webb Telescope tonight. That's why I love having you on the show, because we're not right now.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. If there was the math for the Big Bang and what happened immediately after that was absolutely dead nuts, perfect. One number, one thing off, one little particle with some strange gravity to it, the universe doesn't happen. Everything is off, right? And so the Big Bang isn't a Big Bang, it's a big thud. It may start, but then it could actually disappear into nothing. And the question is, how many universes are happening or potentially happening, just like you're suggesting right there, but because something is just off gravitationally, chemically, gaseously, whatever it could be, that the universe doesn't get its kickstart and doesn't complete, right? And it could be happening all the time, right? Right now, inside of our own universe, another Big Bang could be happening all the time, but something is just computationally off.
Well, that's a can of worms, because this is where we go to science crazy town. The thing about it is that what you explained was the Anthropic Principle, that the universe seems fine-tuned for consciousness and life to exist within it, and that's a real mystery if this is the only universe, because then everything starts looking spooky, like, oh, somebody fine-tuned this. But if it's part of a multiverse and there are an infinite amount of universes in whatever model of multiverse you want, there's a bunch of them, then we're just the one that got lucky, and then there's a bunch of dead ones out there that, have a number is off a little bit, so matter can't exist, like that. But there is zero evidence whatsoever for a multiverse. It's just a hypothesis. So if this universe is alone, then something weird's going on here. Then if it's not, and it's part of a multiverse, that's where you get into a weird one, because who is to say that the evolutionary process does not apply to universes, and that the reason that we're sitting in one that's habitable is because the one that spawned it was habitable, and the one before it that spawned it was habitable, and that it's survival of the fittest, and that the universe that is most well suited for not just life, but just matter and functioning and creating black holes to create other universes, or quantum foam universes, whatever, the one that's able to spawn the most of those, the conditions, is the most successful universe. And that means that it is the most populous universe in the multiverse. So it's the evolutionary principle applied to galaxies, and we just happen to be in a very successful universe that is spawning black holes, which are creating more universes, and it just has more kids than a dead universe does, which has none.
Okay, so two questions. Oh man, so much for the James Webb Telescope. We'll do that next week, everybody. Is this okay? If 13.8 billion years, that's what we've given us right now. That's the number, 13.8 billion years. But space is forever. Right? No matter how you look at it and what you contemplate that may be out there, it's still forever. And forever is a friggin' long time. And 13.8 billion years in the scope of forever is absolutely nothing. It's nothing. So there is no other way to look at this, John, that there have been an infinite amount of universes forever.
So forever is an interesting word, because, and I'm going to reframe it in a different word, infinity. And that changes everything that we think, because if the universe is infinite and it has no boundaries, you have just answered the are we alone question. There are aliens. They must be there. There must be intelligent life, because it's so bad, since the nature of infinity is that there are exact copies of us, exact Earths out there, an infinite number of them.
Everywhere, yes.
There is one. There is a universe, or there is an Earth analog out there that looks exactly like Earth, where you're appearing on Event Horizon instead of me appearing on Fade to Black.
That's right. It's a numbers game. It's
numbers game because it's the biggest number of all, infinity.
It's the biggest number of all.
Yeah.
And if you and I and 4 friends are playing poker and we're dealing cards, eventually it could be the next hand or it could be a million hands later, but we will shuffle an identical deck and everybody will have the identical hands and that is just a numbers game. And particles only combine so many different ways. It's not infinite. It's limited. In fact, it's very limited on and we know what those numbers are.
And because of the limitations, that is what makes things impossible or possible. And possible things are what's allowed, by the very nature of the particles and everything else. But what's interesting is that when you're dealing with infinite time, as you mentioned, where time never stops and it just infinitely goes forward forever, then you run into really weird concepts. For example, if you wait long enough, you could blink out of existence and quantum teleport to another part of the universe instantaneously. If you wait long enough, you can, if you wait long enough, it's non-zero, go through a car windshield in a wreck without any of your atoms interacting with the glass, and you pass through it. If you wait long enough, and this is where it gets really bad, because if you wait long enough in a dead universe, out of just probabilities and random fluctuations, a consciousness will appear in the universe briefly, probably, and think for a little bit and then dissipate. But random consciousness will come together within the universe no matter what, if you wait long enough. Now, understand you're talking about beyond quintillions of years to wait for this to happen. And it's called a Boltzmann brain. And I've always had
but it could also happen tomorrow.
It could also happen tomorrow. But what happens if such a Boltzmann brain appears in a dead universe, an unsuccessful one or one that's lived out all its lifetime and it's pitch black? It's going to look around and see nothing. So why would it even bother to look out into the blackness of space rather than run a simulation of what that universe was like and, once like, and learn what it can learn, and which would be limited. And that leads you to the question, if we're all just fever dreams of a Boltzmann brain in a dead universe.
Now the Boltzmann brain, which was one of the best thought experiments I think ever presented, and not only that, the idea and the concept about this to start the argument, because that's what it's been ever since. We're talking about decades ago, and here we are today on Fade to Black in 2022 talking about the Boltzmann brain, and the concept of that, it breaks down into this: everything is possible. Anything is possible. That's it. Now, everything will happen and can happen. It's just when. And no matter what the forget about the Boltzmann brain. This is my thought experiment. You and I are cruising along, right, in space, right? We got our starship, right? Jimmy and John. And then out in front of us, and we're out at the edges of the known universe, cruising around and looking. And then we pick up something and we pull up to it. And it's a 1966 Ford Mustang convertible floating in space.
Oh, well, it's worth that. You could, if you wait long enough and we're driving, you will pass by a unicorn driving a Chrysler.
Yes, you will.
Yeah.
It will. The atom, the particle, everything just magically come together. Yeah. It's a crazy concept to think about, but anything is possible. Lenny Susskind does a couple of presentations on this, and he causes your brain to melt. In that, when you listen to, he does an explanation of oatmeal or something falling out of a bowl and breaking on the floor. And that one day you'll knock the oatmeal off of the counter and it's going to fit and shatter on the floor. And then it's going to gather itself back up atom by atom and come back up into your hand and move in the opposite direction. Now, he goes, probably won't happen, but it could happen. And if you wait long enough, it probably will. Right now, and it just causes your brain to go into meltdown. That is just a numbers game.
And it also gives you an insight onto the true nature of reality, and that it's not really what we experience in our day-to-day lives. It's weirder than that, and it's just weird on its own. And there are other parts of physics, like the double slit experiment, the observer problem, where you apparently need a conscious observer to collapse something's wave function, although some people dispute that, of course. But you have to observe something in order for it to happen, for its wave function to collapse. And then people have asked the question, well, does the universe have a wave function to collapse? And if it does, what's collapsing it? Us? Is it human consciousness? And those questions have been asked. Nobody knows the answers, but it's interesting. Well, science is full of really weird stuff that can actually be legitimately tested and proven and shown and suggested and hypothesized and all that. It is chock full of it, and it's not that well known as opposed to things like the paranormal and stuff like that is a different sort of thing. But science is every bit as weird as everything else.
It is. And so here's the thing. When we talk about observation and measurement, all right, we just stop right there. Two simple concepts, right? But if we are observing, if things change when they are observed, which is what physics is telling us is the nature of everything, then are we changing the universe by observing it? And the collapsing of and not only that, but the entanglement nature and the locality of things by just observing it. Are we actually changing our own reality by just looking at it and attempting to measure it?
Well, that's the problem, because the double slit experiment is completely repeatable. We've been doing it for years. And what happens in this experiment is you take a laser and you run it through some paper slits, double slits, and you'll see on the other side, you'll see an interference pattern, from the laser, unless you look directly at it, and then all of a sudden it shrinks down to 2 slits. So the double slit experiment shows that light behaves as a wave if you're not measuring it, but if you're looking at it, it behaves like a particle. It reduces down, boom, So it instead of going like, say you're on a dock and you see the ocean, and the ocean will go through and create interference patterns because of the
waves.
Then you look down at the ocean and it suddenly becomes a piece of ice moving one direction. And that happens under observation in that experiment. So if you apply that to the universe, is the universe there if you're not looking at it? Maybe not.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly. And now, but here's the thing. I wanted to post this up. This went down about 500 comments ago. JMG is the best. He has the best takes on the Fermi Paradox. No, he doesn't. I do. But and all of the spooky space stuff, which applies to what we're talking about right now. And now let's I got to squeeze a break in here, John. So let's go ahead and do that. And when we come back, I do want to swing back to the James Webb because there is a difference, believe it or not, between infrared and full spectrum, and what is that, and how is the James Webb not only able to do this, but what's the difference and what is actually being observed? And we'll do all of that when we come back after this short break. This is Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Stay with us. John Michael Godier. Event Horizon is with us tonight. I've got a ton of images, and we're going to go through those too as well. How is it happening? Well, he's going to tell us when we come back. Stay with us.
Hi everybody, this is Rob Halford, the Metal Guard on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Your 1 million gigawatt paranormal powerhouse, KUNX-DB, VX.
Right now, the world couldn't be more chaotic. History shows us what gold does when the world goes crazy. It goes up in value. Right now, we're in unprecedented times. The pandemic, the war in Ukraine, the devaluation of the U.S. dollar. Gold and other precious metals are a defense measure against the hyperinflation that's happening right now. So, what can you do to protect yourself? Call my friend Alan Johnson at United Gold Group. He's dedicated to helping people secure their retirement income. He'll help you with gold, with silver, and other precious metals, and show you how to set up your own self-directed IRA. Safe and secure, United Gold Group makes gold ownership easy and affordable. There couldn't be a better time, so call now and get a silver American Eagle proof set with a qualified IRA. Call 800-753-8534. That's 800-753-8534 or visit UnitedGoldGroup.com. Reach out to my friend, Alan Johnson.
The Believer is the chilling true story of Dr. John Mack, a renowned Harvard psychiatrist and Pulitzer Prize winner.
This is an outreach program from the cosmos to the consciously impaired.
He risked it all to investigate human encounters with aliens. The Believer, Alien Encounters, Hard Science, and the Passion of John Mack. Written by award-winning former New York Times journalist and author Ralph Blumenthal. Now available in paperback from High Road Books.
Are you ready to read about true paranormal events? Unx Media publishes nonfiction books about UFOs, ghosts and haunted places, time anomalies, cryptid creatures, and more. Just like KUNX-DB Radio, it's all about unexplained phenomena. Visit www.unxmedia.com to see our list of great book titles by Debbie Ziegelmeyer, Gene Walker, Devin Listrom, Wayne Lawrence, Bill Spicer, and yours truly, Margie Kay. That's unxmedia.com.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and I only drink Fade to Black blend coffee from Rivermoon. Just click on the Rivermoon Coffee banner at jimmychurchradio.com. Promo code F2B Blend.
This is the only way forward.
This is Fade to Black. Make contact.
Join us August 5th through the 7th, 2022 at the Drury Conference Center in Cape Girardeau, Missouri for the launch of the Midwest Conference on the Unknown. There are 3 interactive days packed with vendors, exhibitors, and nationally recognized researchers presenting on unknown topics like UFO UAP phenomenon, ghosts and Bigfoot, and Missouri's own Momo, the Missouri Monster. Cape Girardeau has long been one of the most sought-out areas for UFO enthusiasts since the 1941 UFO crash, and now is your chance to be a part of the inaugural conference. Visit cape-events.com or follow us on Facebook at Midwest Conference on the Unknown for more information. Ex-listeners get 30% off by using the promo code XVIP. That's cape-events.com, promo code XVIP.
When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Yes, Rivermoon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2B Blend for 15% off of your order today.
You want to know a secret? I love ponies. I
this. I'm serious. I couldn't stay sane without ponies to brush.
Why fade to black? Because you never got that pony, damn it.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network.
Welcome back. Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Michael Godier. Event Horizon is with us. And now, I just want to get straight back into it if I can, JMG, which is this. We're going to, I've got images. Oh, okay, look, everybody, look. I'm going to pop this up. We'll talk about this next, okay? But before I get there, eventually, could be 1 trillion years, could be 2 trillion years, but eventually the glue and the energy that keeps particles together will stop. Right? We would, right? We could be on a colony spaceship to 1 trillion years from now cruising, and it just dissolves into nothing. And eventually, the energy that we think lasts forever technically isn't forever, is it?
Well, the question is at what level do you want to go? Because the real question is does the proton eventually decay?
That's right.
There's some people that say that it does, some people that say that it don't. But the actual energy, the constituents of the proton, we don't know. What do the quarks do after what happens? So everything does seem to decay, though. I mean, even black holes evaporate, but it all hinges on that question, really, as far as the cohesion of the far future universe, is if the proton decays or not, and we don't know.
Well, okay, and this is, and it's crazy that we're talking about, potentially trillions and trillions of years, when our universe is 13.8 billion years old. We're talking about trillions of years in the future. That's a long time. It's a concept. It's numbers. Those are zeros. Those are digits that we cannot wrap our head around. That length of time. But the point is simple. We survive by consuming energy. We eat, right? So that energy is transferred into our body. It's from a star. Some distant star gave up its life, so it could be wheat and corn and whatever protein for us to eat. And that's what we do. But to have energy, where does the energy come from for a particle to hold itself together? That's the thing. And how can that energy just last for trillions of years? I don't get that. They're not eating food, right? So it would eventually, I guess, it would have to end.
Well, that gets into the question of entropy, right? And that order gets increasingly disordered, and it's a rule,
It's a law.
It's a law. But really, energy and matter are the same thing. Matter you could say is condensed energy, and they're really the same thing, and you can't destroy it. I mean, it's just there. It's been there since the Big Bang. So you're just doing things, little tricks of entropy to liberate energy from, certain things, chemical processes, things like that. So it all goes back to that residual energy. But the real mystery is, okay, well, we understand that part of energy and we use it, but what is driving the expansion of the universe and causing it to accelerate? It's getting faster, which is really mystifying. What energy is being applied to space-time, this is dark energy that it's termed, that's doing that, and could we ever make use of that? So there's some other form of energy in this universe driving the expansion of space-time that is a complete unknown to us, complete mystery.
And the other part to that, which is to me the most fascinating. Well, it's all fascinating, but one of the most fascinating aspects of all of this is that relative to us, the expansion of the universe at one point is FTL. It's faster than light.
Mm-hmm.
So if that is the case, but it's the space itself in between these objects that is doing the expansion. It's if we were next to one of those galaxies that is at the speed of light, it's not that we are traveling at the speed of light. We are with space that is expanding at the speed of light. Okay. So we're everything is relative. It's only because of our position. But here is that is crazy enough, right? To think about. It's how much falls off the event horizon, right? How much of it? I did that for you. You like that? I did that for you. I did that for you. How much? And we will never know. We will absolutely never. There's no way to find out.
We can't ever know how big the universe is. All we can do is just infer based on its geometry. If we can figure it out, that if you could figure out the actual geometry, see, infinite universe is only one. There are two others that I know that are possible geometries for the universe that would account for what we see. And in that event, you might be able to work out, if you could figure out if it's one of those two other geometries that's not infinite, you could figure out, maybe work out how big the universe actually is outside of the observable universe. But that's as far as you can get. And we may never get that far. That's the universe does not guarantee that us humans can know everything about it. It does what it wants.
Let's get to these images. I'm looking at the clock, and let's go here. We were talking about before the break the difference between infrared and full spectrum. So this image here, obviously infrared. Mm-hmm. If we were looking at this image with a ground base analog, if you will, right, telescope, this isn't what we would see.
You would see something similar to it, but at lower resolution, and you would see different details in visible light. But the advantage to infrared is that in visible light, dust can block out light pretty efficiently, obviously, and in infrared, less so. So you can see stuff that dust would obscure. You know what I mean? And in the case of that nebula there, the Southern Ring Nebula, it has a lot of dust going on, gas and dust. And by looking at an infrared, you can see details that you would not see in visible light and gain more. And the best example of that is one of the images that Webb took of that nebula actually showed the remnant star in there. And we'd never seen that before. So that was something first imaged by JWST. And what happened here is, if you look carefully, it looks like a bubble around that, around a point, which is not, I don't think that's actually the central star that you see there, but it's close enough. What happened was a star exploded. It was a supernova, and it threw off this big shell of gas and dust into space. And that's what you're seeing. And if you look carefully in the actual image itself, you'll see weird stuff like light echoes and all kinds of things, shock waves and all this stuff moving through it. And that's what the scientists want to do, is if you want to understand the dynamics of a supernova, that's what you look at. But it also makes for a very pretty picture. And this was one of the first chosen because it was pretty, and they wanted to show the public, the taxpayers of multiple countries, that this telescope performs. And that's what those images really were for. But within days, papers were already coming out in preprint form on these images. So scientists were noticing things, and writing papers on them, and just from the first few images.
This was released within the last week, right?
A couple days ago at most. Yeah. And that is the Cartwheel Galaxy. And what I find interesting about this is not necessarily the big Cartwheel Galaxy itself, but these two on either side of it, two white galaxies, little spirals. And that just goes to show you how every galaxy is different. They're like fingerprints. Every one is different.
And every speck of light that you're seeing here is just another galaxy. Every single one.
Every single one, and each one of them contains hundreds of billions of suns.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Now, again, because this is infrared, with the conventional ground-based telescopes, how much is it? Is it just detail, or would this look completely different to us?
Oh, you would be able to tell it's the same object for sure, but you're just seeing it in a different spectrum, and but new things are revealed when you do that. Obviously, radio, astronomy goes back to visual observation. It started with people looking through telescopes at these objects, if they could even see them. But some galaxies you can, like Andromeda, you can see with a telescope readily. And they were seeing them as just smudges. But we relied on visual astronomy for a very long time because that's what we could do technologically. We could take photographic plates and visible light and all that. But as our technology got better, we were able to just start doing infrared. And it's just like your infrared camera at night. Your infrared camera, your night vision camera, can see things that you normally would not be able to see with your own eyes in the visual spectrum. So it's the same thing. And here it's more revealing for the astronomers to be able to see in infrared. Doesn't mean it can't take good pictures, though.
What are we looking at here?
That one I have not seen. That's interesting. I can tell you it's a type of spiral galaxy of some sort.
It's just it's stunningly beautiful.
Yeah.
Stunningly beautiful. I have the names of these, but let's just continue. Now, when this was one of the first images released, and I don't think we were quite prepared for this kind of majesty.
That is the Carina Nebula, and that is where stars are born, right? In an environment like that, where you have gas and dust, and what Webb can do, and this is another thing that it can do with infrared, is actually can see the voids that form inside that nebula and study them, that are where a star is forming and the material is all falling into it, forming a void. So this will tell scientists a ton about star formation and how that occurs. But very few things compete with nebulas as far as majesty. And they just wanted to do something instead of just retaking and redoing the Pillars of Creation photograph from Hubble back in the day that wowed everybody back in the 90s. They wanted to do it with the Carina Nebula. And it's just a beautifully defined, reminds you of mountains,
It does. It does. It's exactly what it does. I think everybody thought the same thing. That looks like Earth. Right.
It does. It has a strange familiarity to it.
It does. It absolutely does. And now, one thing, when this image was brought out, and I was watching the different comments from different astrophysicists and astronomers around the world about this image and what it implies. The one thing that we understand now, and I don't get it, John, why it seems like this recent revelation that now it is generally accepted that when a star is forming, it's going to have a ring of dust, that all of them have that. Gravity overtakes, the dust clumps together, and then planets are formed. That this process is what all stars go through. Therefore, every star has at least one planetary body orbiting around it, if not many, like our own solar system. And we thought we were unique. And now it turns out that everything that we look at has gone through the same process. How come it took us so long to come to such a basic formulation for how things are created?
Well, I think it's an unbelievably complex process that's very, very difficult to actually observe, because you have to find a protoplanetary disk and you have to be able to study it. And given that it's a disk of dust, very dense, dust that's forming the planets, it's hard to see through it. But infrared gives you a chance. And we've seen something weird in infrared. A few years ago, they were looking, a group of scientists were looking in infrared at a star system, a baby star system inside of a protoplanetary disk. And they saw a gigantic flash of infrared light. And it actually, the afterglow lasted over a year. What had to have happened is two planets inside that cloud of dust and gas collided. So we'd never seen anything like that before, and we just happened to get lucky and be observing it when it was happening. And expect that kind of stuff from Webb, because infrared yields these kinds of surprises, because you're looking at heat, and you know what heat tells you. Heat tells you something's happening. And
it's a process that happened many times in our own solar system.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, we think that the best explanation for the formation of the moon was a glancing blow with a Mars-sized object called Theia early in Earth's history. And we actually see evidence of Theia down in, maps of the lower mantle of Earth. You see these globs that seem to be the remnants of this planetoid that hit us. And the moon was just the junk that was thrown off, and it, went through its formation from there. But the thing is, it's chemically, when you look at the composition of the moon and Earth, they're very closely related, like they were once part of the same thing.
Do you think that the asteroid belt is the remnants of planetary collisions and just not a collection of garbage?
I think it's just a collection point of garbage, because it's just the leftovers and things like that. The real material, the real pristine stuff, are the comets coming in from the outer solar system. There just wasn't enough material out there to form. Well, maybe there was enough, but the point is, it's material that's untouched since the formation of the solar system. That's just been out there in deep freeze. And that's really interesting material, because it seems to be related to the genesis of life, because it contains some of the amino acids and things like that were involved.
Here's the deep field again. This is now Arendelle. And let me pull up this. Let me pull this down, because at the same time, so this is Arendelle here.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Okay, and so if I go back to this is that star.
My understanding is, yes, that's what they seem to be suggesting.
Right.
I don't know. I can't say that for certain, though. But that seemed to be what they were suggesting today. That I saw the same thing you did.
Yeah, and it is the farthest star that we have observed so
That's
far.
Correct. It right now, because we see it as it was 12.9 billion years ago. But now, if we could see that star is 28 billion light years from us, because of the expansion of the universe over that time, over the 12.9 billion years. So we're looking at by far the most distant single object we've ever seen.
I'm just going to do this just for grins. I can't stop looking at this. And and I believe the bright blue galaxy in the middle, right, just below the center. So they took the Hubble images of that section and looked at the same galaxy. In the Hubble images, you don't see anything. It's beautiful, right? But in this image, once it was enlarged, there was like seven individual stars that were observable inside of that galaxy.
Yeah, the gravitational lensing allows, just by luck, it allows it. But the thing is that you can also use gravitational lensing artificially. So if you were to put a telescope in the far outer solar system, you'd have to do this, pointing at the sun, using the sun as a gravitational lens, you automatically get a gigantic boost, a gigantic telescope. And you can also do it from Earth. There's a concept called the Terrascope by David Kipping, where you use Earth as a gravitational lens. So you can actually make your telescopes way, way more powerful than you can just as they are. We're just not quite to the stage we need to be able to take advantage of.
And that's right. And when I think a lot of people, and because I go through this, it has to be the same for everybody. When we discuss the fabric of the universe, right, and we talk about this, Well, that does apply to us too, right? It applies to the sun. It applies to Mars.
Yeah, gravity.
Yeah, that's it. The fabric of the universe isn't just everything else. All of these concepts and gravitational lensing apply to us right here in our own star system.
Absolutely, nothing's immune, and the reality is that when you look at these galaxies, well, we live in one of these. So these very, very distant galaxies, though, they are obeying the same rules as the Milky Way is. The Milky Way is a barred spiral, and you look out there, you see little spiral galaxies, and things like that. It's because the laws of physics, because we can see this stuff, we know that the laws of physics are the same everywhere.
Back in, I think it was, I don't know the exact year, but I think it was 1936. After a lot of heavy analysis was going on with general and special, and the concepts behind this, well, there was a full eclipse that went across, and that's everybody set up their cameras to photograph the sun to see if we could photograph objects behind it, and we did, and that those theories were proven from Albert Einstein from 1915.
Absolutely, that was the first. I think it was Eddington.
Eddington. That was a big deal. Now, this looks like a cave painting from Spain from 40,000 years ago.
It really does. Cave paintings are definitely one of my most favorite things because it's a telescope of human thought through time, 40,000 years, and that was what that person thought that long ago. And that's another one of the things that fires my imagination is cave paintings.
Somebody just commented, and I think, give it up, dude. I don't date. What are you guys chatting about? We're talking about the James Webb Telescope. And I've got a singles bar going on in the chat room. So, but isn't this incredible? Now, again, I have to ask the basic question because I don't fully understand this. We've seen images similar to this in the past, not even close to being as cool, of course. But why does infrared give us this image? And if we looked at this with a conventional telescope or a radio telescope, we wouldn't see the same thing, right?
You see similar, they correlate, but at the same time, it's just because you can see through different, when you're looking at something dusty and gas, with gas like that, infrared can see details through it more than visible light. It's hopeless. So you just get a different perspective. That's not to say you don't need visible light. You do, because you can do observations like the Hubble Space Telescope does in visible light. But Webb gives you a little bit different of a perspective. Again, it's like having night vision goggles, as opposed to your eyes when walking around in the backyard at night.
Yeah. Okay. So
running into a brown recluse.
Yeah, running into a brown recluse or a scorpion. But here's the thing. If you and I, again, were in our starship and we're just looking out the windows, flying through this section of space, we're not going to see this. We're going to just see black, right? We're just going to see normal space.
That's a good question. With just our eyes, what would we see? There are some nebulas, like the Orion Nebula, that people with really good eyes can see without, the unaided eye. So you would see that. You would see that because it's illuminated by stars. So I think that some of this stuff, like infrared, we can't see that. So we would see a nebula like this probably as a big blue blob.
Right. But we wouldn't see this. We wouldn't be cruising through this.
No, you would not. It's the instrument. You need an instrument to see it.
You need an instrument. That's the mind-blowing part. Mm-hmm. Let's take our break, and we're going to head straight into overtime. Everybody relax. We're not done yet. And I feel like we're just getting started. This should have been like a 6-hour show, John.
I can do 6-hour shows. I can do it. I got the stamina.
Don't tempt me. And don't tempt me. I've got lots of good coffee. Let's take our break right here. We're going to do overtime with John Michael Godier. You just stay right there. You know what? Don't panic. It's all good. This is Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. More with the host of Event Horizon, John Michael Godier, when we come back after this short break. Stay with us.
You're listening to Jimmy Church and Fade to Black on the X.
Hey, what up, y'all? It's your girl Vivica Fox here, and you are listening to my boy, Jimmy Church, on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Despite popular opinion, reading a book will not make you smarter.
But listening to Jimmy Church will.
Hello, Fadernauts. Jimmy Church here. You've seen me with my Thunderstorm. Now you can purify the air in your home and get healthy, clean, fresh-smelling air and eliminate odors just like I do right here in the bunker. The EdenPURE Thunderstorm uses oxy technology that naturally sends out O3 molecules into the air, which seek out odors and air pollutants in your home and destroys them. It's called a thunderstorm because it purifies the air just like after a thunderstorm. And right now, you can save $200 on an EdenPURE Thunderstorm 3-pack for whole home protection. With this special offer, you're getting 3 units for under $200. Seriously. Go to EdenPureDeals.com and use Fader3. Shipping is free and it's easy. Just scroll down. You'll see my name right there, Jimmy Church. Click on it and get your deal today. That's EdenPureDeals.com.
This is Billy Carson, founder and CEO of ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. ForbiddenKnowledge.tv is the fastest growing and one of the most watched networks in the world. And I would like to personally invite you to check out our expanding library of TV, film, lectures, and special presentations. ForbiddenKnowledge.tv has over 6,000 videos covering lost history, health, UFOs, spirituality, and our future. We are committed to our community, and with my personal invitation, you can right now get your own free 30-day membership at ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. Your own library of information starts today at ForbiddenKnowledge.tv.
Your 1 million gigawatt paranormal powerhouse, KUNX-DB, the X.
Are you ready to read about true paranormal events? Unix Media publishes nonfiction books about UFOs, ghosts and haunted places, time anomalies, cryptid creatures, and more. Just like KUNX-DB Radio, it's all about unexplained phenomena. Visit www.unxmedia.com to see our list of great book titles by Debbie Ziegelmeyer, Gene Walker, Devin Listrom, Wayne Lawrence, Bill Spicer, and yours truly, Margie Kay. That's unxmedia.com.
Introducing the Game Changer blend from Rivermoon Coffee that delivers a customized blend made specifically for the Fadernauts. If the game is rigged, change the game. It's a bolder cup with some bite. Game Changer is the coffee of choice for those that prefer an organic dark roast that is slightly lighter and milder, but it's still dark. With wild notes of pecans and chocolate with a rich, balanced, full-bodied cup that is roasted to perfection for a great coffee to start your day, as an after-dinner coffee or anywhere in between. Artisan, small batch roasted to perfection. USDA certified organic, all Rivermoon coffee is freshly roasted and packaged in the USA. Just go to rivermooncoffee.com or click on the banners over on our site and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. rivermooncoffee.com.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Erica, Brittany, Gabby, and you're listening to JamieChurchRadio.com.
It's not a lifestyle we chose. We were born this way.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Great conversation tonight. John Michael Godier. I just got the breaking news in Vin Scully has passed away at the age of 94. This is live radio, but I will just say this really quick. I knew Vin very, very well. I've talked about that many times on the show, and pretty close with the guy. And he really helped me in my career and gave me a lot of advice early on. And I spent a lot of days and nights with him. And I'm a little bit moved at the moment. And so there you go. Thoughts and prayers with his family. And there you go. 94 years old, though. You lived to 94 and you have the career that he has. You know what? Right on. That's all you can say. I think we all hope that we can have a life like that and cruise through to the age of 94. You know, the crazy thing, I don't do sports anymore, John, but the thing is that guy, Mr. Scully, was a professional's professional. That's it. He was exactly who you think he was, and you go and you meet somebody like that with such a reputation and a history. We all grew up with him and everything. And then you just find out, wow, dude, you're exactly like you're supposed to be. And, and he was just that. He was a very nice guy. He was very cool. And there you go. So rest in peace, Vin Scully. All right. You changed the world. And very few people can say that, but he did. So, okay, let's move on. Let's move on. And were you a sports guy? Are you a sports guy?
No, Jimmy, but if I have an analog of that, what will get me is when Dick Cavett dies, because that's where I went to, learn how to do interviews, and he was a big influence. So it's these guys are getting up there, these great interviewers from radio and television are getting up there, and we're a different breed, the younger generation, we're a different breed. But this has happened before. I mean, man, you ever go back and listen to some old radio, in our sort of grain of listening, like Long John Nebel?
He's my favorite. Long John Nebel's my he's in my bio. Long John Nebel's in my bio. And you're right about that, because growing up, when I stumbled into Long John Nebel and I got tapes of cassettes, he died in 74, I think 74. So, but I had a friend that had Long John Nebel tapes. And now I'm listening. This is 10 years before Art Bell. This is, there was some other things that were going on at that time. But I started listening to Long John Nebel, and I realized very early how to do it. Right. And that's what he brought to the table, how to just have a conversation.
Yeah, and he was very good at that, because the shows I've listened to is a very informal. It's a true conversation.
Yeah,
and a lot of times he had multiple people in on the conversation, like
5.
4 people. 5. And it was back in the days of the people that are very, very much long gone, like Donald Kehoe. people like that no real other information or material exists regarding them. So it was that type of broadcasting was absolutely amazing, and it was so early. But I also go back to Orson Welles and things like that for the 30s. Mercury Theater and things like that are also influences. I love old radio.
That's it. I studied it. I mean, I studied it. I studied it I'm talking, I'm 58. I mean, I was taking a crack at this stuff when I was 8, 9, 10, and listening to talk radio. Listen to music, but there was something about the theater of the mind and having two people engage in a conversation or more. Long John Nebel's show was called The Party Line.
Yeah.
And it was called The Party Line because it was a friggin' party. And he had that big table. He had all those microphones set up. They were in there drinking scotch and chain smoking cigarettes for 6 hours a night in Manhattan, right?
Yeah.
With 50 million people listening at a time. 50 million, man.
It does back to radio days. Yeah.
Did you ever see photographs of his studio? Did you see the phone switchboard?
No, I've never seen any of that.
Okay, so obviously they took phone calls, right? Mm-hmm. But this was back in you didn't have a computer, right? You didn't have a multi-phone line. You had 20 operators in a row with their headsets plugging in and connecting in. And then so his desk had all those telephones on it, and they would hardwire these in, and they are doing the one ringy dingy, two ringy. In the studio, they had all of these operators running. It was crazy. And he had the vision. He was the first. He had the vision to do all of this live calls, New York City, interesting guests that covered the paranormal, the supernatural, and UFOs and ghosts, life after death, the inner earth. He did all that stuff, man. Nazi flying saucers tonight, right? Tonight. And I loved it. I listened to all of the Long John Nebel that is pretty much available. And he did it from the early 50s until 1974, until he died. And then his wife took over the show. And she was interesting too, because there were stories about that she was CIA, right? And that's a whole nother.
There's an elephant in the room on that. There was one talk show host back in the day, William F. Buckley, who was definitely an agent in the CIA and admitted it. So that there was that sort of thing going on in those days.
100%. Okay, let's get back to let's see what we have next here.
That's a closer in view of the Carina Nebula, and it shows more that James Webb's images can be blown up. They're high resolution, very high resolution images, and you can take closer looks. But this, I think, was actually done by one of the other cameras, which JWST has several.
So there's 3 clusters of lenses of cameras on it.
Yeah, and I think this was. It might even say, no, I don't think it does, which instrument it was, but it has 3, these groups of instruments that give different views of the same thing. And a lot of times it's all 3 instruments, make an observation of something for comparison and all kinds of things like that allow for a clearer picture of what you're looking at.
Do you, there is a big chunk of this community that is expecting our government to cross the line, the Rubicon of disclosure, and start talking about this in a different context, even more so than what they are today, which is it's pretty nuts what's going on. But then there is another contingent of which I'm part of, that the announcement is going to end up coming from science. And now that breaks down into James Webb may force this announcement, and it could come very soon. Which side of things are you on?
Okay, in regards to the announcement of alien life, if it comes from science, no one will be able to keep it quiet. And the reason is, number one, science is international, and these teams like James Webb, these are spread across all nations, that were participating, and any scientist can get time on that. So the discovery of some type of technosignature with James Webb could come from a scientist in Denmark. Well, good luck if you want to keep that quiet and you're a government. Good luck doing that in another country, but it won't even happen that way. It'll just go public. There's all kinds of things, interactions between astronomers, and they can't keep their mouths shut. So if they see something, we're all going to know about it. But if it gets closer to home with the Galileo project, trust me, Ivy Loeb will scream it from the rooftops if there's something odd that's caught, which I'm sure there will be. And they've actually got their first camera operating on top of Harvard now. So, hey, show us what you find.
And what if okay, so we have the possibility of perseverance, and there are some, that are saying that the announcement of life, off planet would come from Mars first. Do you equate the announcement of life the same? Does that hold the same weight? Right,
well, that's happened twice, and we were wrong both times, and it both came from Mars. First was the labeled release experiment with Viking, which gave a positive result, and that wasn't suppressed. It went out there. And then the second one was one that Bill Clinton himself actually talked about, was the announcement of potential fossil life in a Martian meteorite. Turned out that's in question. We don't know what that is. And same with the label release. We've never actually resolved what that experiment detected. It's just in question. But both of those were taken by the public as announcements of the discovery of microbial alien life. Nothing happened. Nobody cared. Well, they cared, but nobody was surprised. And I think that that's going to be the case with any sort of disclosure or SETI detection or whatever. It's not going to surprise anybody. I mean, half of all, U.S. citizens, or more than half, just no biggie. Let's find out more about them. Let's learn something.
Now, when we talk about, and we hear this a lot now, right? Techno-signatures. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of, it stirs the science fiction aspect of this and the imagination that a techno-signature to one person isn't the same as another. So when we're talking about techno-signatures, is it going to be something boring like a crazy amount of methane, which would indicate some type of biological, occurrence? No, but I don't think that would excite people. Or is it something else? Ships doing galactic star trading, right, on trade routes. What is a techno-signature?
Well, it runs a gamut. So a techno-signature is a signature of technology, meaning intelligence. And a biosignature that's gases in an atmosphere that indicate a biosphere, whereas a technosignature indicates a technological civilization doing something. And that can go from the relatively mundane, you accidentally catch one of their communications, one of their internal communications, and you see that it's a narrow band radio signal and it must be artificial. That's the boring side. But the non-boring side is a giant space laser shows up and starts firing at you. That's a technosignature too.
The identifiers seem pretty simple on this planet. We've got pollution. We've got radio and television signals. We've got satellites. We've got communications that's happening. We've got stuff that is very lights in cities and stuff like that. So all of that is very, very visible, but we are very quickly closing down on radio and television signals, right? And a cable-driven fiber optic world where this stuff isn't being broadcast. Certainly at 75, 100 years ago, we didn't have any regulations on the strength of our radio antennas. All right, we were blasting out millions of watts and everything.
Oh yeah, that was in the days 700,000 watt, broadcasts and things like that. Whereas now, I think what is the federal level? It's for
50,000.
Yeah, Clear Channel Station might be able to go to 100 or something if like in the middle of the night, but that's it, and then 50,000 for anything FM. That is not visible to an alien civilization, but there is one thing that is, and it's probably going to be with us for a very long time, and it's the radar. The radar is still very, very powerful, and that they can see if they're within 100 light years.
And now, so if we flip that over, okay, we're looking at a very narrow window for an opportunity to observe us, but they must be doing the same thing, right? If we're out there looking for exoplanets, then they're looking for exoplanets.
Anyone in the Milky Way that's looking for exoplanets knows about Earth because it's been screaming its biosphere, its biosignature for several billion years.
Correct. And now, okay, so 40 light years away. Let's say there's intelligent life on TRAPPIST and they're looking at us right now. Well, that's only 40 years ago. So if they're checking us out 40 years ago, dude, they were looking at the US Festival happen. Okay, that's pretty cool. That's intelligent life. They could be watching Van Halen. They're not looking at the dinosaurs. But if you stretch out past that and you're going, you're 5,000 light years away and you're looking back at Earth, you're looking at, Stone Age man or worse if you're out 10,000, 15, 20,000 light years away.
They would have no idea that we were here. What they would see was all of the scientists of the Milky Way will see the oxygen, and they'll be like, there's plants there, there's a photosynthesizing biosphere there. But as far as detecting something like the Roman Empire, they would never see that. There are some thoughts that you might be able to detect agriculture on a very large scale, but it needs to be on a really, really large scale. And we were just undetectable, and we're only barely detectable even now. The radar gives us away, but only if that alien civilization is looking right at us. But they would know to do that for the biosphere. But even then, past out 100 light years, past that bubble, nobody has any way of knowing about us. And it shouldn't be surprising that we don't see, contact signals, because it's just that little tiny bubble. It's not even anything close to a single % of the galaxy itself.
Well, okay. So now we have an issue, though, today with UAPs and the military and UFOs and things that are going on that they are having a hard time explaining, whether they know what is going on or not. They are saying that it's a phenomenon that they don't understand. Right. Is this an example of things out there that could be by the billion different civilizations that are just doing what we're doing? We're sending probes to Saturn, every single day. This is our plan. Well, wouldn't ET be doing the same thing? And is that possible that what we are seeing here isn't necessarily an alien invasion, but stuff that is just propagating throughout the Milky Way?
Yeah, it's plausible. And the way that it happens is that way back 50 years ago, John von Neumann, a very famous mathematician, came up with the idea of self-replicating probes, doing essentially what viruses in nature do. They create copies of themselves. And if you do that, you can have a probe in every star system in the galaxy at sublight speeds, not violating any physics, and you can do it within a few million years. And if you're an automated civilization, a machine civilization, you don't care about time, so you would probably do something like that. So that led Enrico Fermi to say, "Well, look, where are they? They should be here. This galaxy is 13.8 billion years old. It's well old enough for somebody to have evolved and then spread out through the galaxy. So where is everyone?" And the thing is that that's predicated on the assumption that we should see evidence of an alien civilization in this star system. And if there's a von Neumann probe out there printing out atmospheric probes. We'll call them Tic Tacs, and sending them into the atmosphere, and someone sees them, then someone just saw a UFO of alien origin. So we need to remember that there is a plausible way for the UFO phenomenon to be of alien origin. Could happen. The second thing, though, is that the other problem is that statistically speaking, close aliens are a bad thing, because the closer it is to you, it means that there are a lot of aliens out there. If you see an alien civilization in the star system next to you, it suggests that there's an enormous population of alien civilizations in the galaxy. We just don't see evidence of that. So when a civilization is close to you and you see it, you run up against something called the Silurian hypothesis. And the Silurian hypothesis is that Earth, you can't rule out that Earth didn't produce a prior technological civilization, and that evidence of it is simply erased from the geologic record from weathering. This planet is very good at renewing itself.
Mm-hmm.
So with the Silurian hypothesis in place, that kind of throws a wrench into it, because it all opens up the possibility that you're seeing a prior civilization on Earth that went off into space and is just checking back in and seeing how the home world's doing. And that means it's Earth life, though. It's not alien. It's Earth life. So there are unexplored possibilities for, coming up with the explanations for UAP that we haven't really talked about yet, that are there, that are not alien, but just as weird, And that this was hinted at by Jacques Vallée and J. Allen Hynek years ago, that the phenomenon is too broad for an alien origin. So my thinking is, we have enough weird stuff. We have the government, the Navy testifying in front of Congress. They're saying that the phenomenon is there. It's real. Okay, let's find out what it is. Let's study it. Let's put the research in and see if we can resolve it finally after 70 years of talking about it.
Let's hope. I think it's tangible. I think that the idea of this is now tangible. It's almost like we can feel that there is something going on when it comes to this discussion, and we've never been in this.
I think we can, but to be honest with you, I felt that 35 years ago, that there's something to this. We should pay attention to it, not ridicule it. And while there's a whole lot of fluff involved with the field, there's always been these questions of cases that are really, really perplexing. And, completely legitimate scientists like James McDonald back in the day looked into it and concluded, hey, there's something weird going on here. And he was basically drummed out of his profession over it, and it was terrible. It was awful. So we had really aggressive skeptics that were actually going after people's personal lives over their interest in UFOs. And I think that's highly dishonest, and I don't want that to happen again.
No, I think we've moved past that, John. We've moved past that. Although we're out of time, I'll leave you with this note. I was with a group of friends up in Washington State, and we were at Mount Adams. We were 14 miles away from Mount Adams. When we all observed, I saw it through my binoculars, 3:00 in the afternoon. I'm guessing 500 feet tall. I don't know how else to describe it to you, but it looked like a beer can. And imagine 500 feet, maybe 200, 300 feet across, and it's going like this across the sky, had a silver circle on it. We saw it came out from behind the mountain. So it's at least 14 miles away. And it's doing this, right? And you see that, this isn't a light in the sky at midnight. This is 3:00 in the afternoon. It's black, it's chrome on the top and the bottom, and then it disappeared. Lasted for about 15 seconds.
It just simply vanished, poof?
Yeah. I didn't see it disappear. Everybody else did. I was going between the binoculars and looking at it with the naked eye. And when I came back to the binoculars, they said it just disappeared. And I was pretty upset because we had a clear blue sky above us. I thought we were going to see this for quite a while. But the point is, that wasn't us. I saw it. I can tell you right now that had nothing to do with.
if you look at an incident like the Nimitz incident, I can't sit there and say that was what was described by Fravor and the pilots. I can't say that was anything good.
Right.
I'm interested. What I want is real digestible scientific data. And I'm hoping that Dr. Loeb gives that to us with Project Galileo so that we can all chew on it and have a discussion, without the stigma and the ridicule and all that. Just have an honest discussion and ask ourselves, what the hell is this?
Well, we're about to get kicked off the network. So give me 10 seconds. When do you put out the new Event Horizon?
Every Thursday afternoon, they come out.
The links for everything are right here at jimmychurchradio.com. We have in social media. It's over on the website. It's down in the description box below. John Michael Godier, you are the absolute very best. At the end of this month, we'll make a big announcement to the world. Everybody stay tuned for that. John, behave and be well, man. I'll talk to you tomorrow. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. John, stay right there. We'll say goodnight after the show. What a great, great conversation tonight. It was perfect. Tomorrow night, right here, Isaac Arthur. Fade to Black is produced by Hilton J. Palm, Renee, Dennis, and Kevin. Announcers are Steve Harder, Gene Vitola, Mark T. Kovar. Webmaster is Drew the Geek. Music, Doug Aldrich. Intro, Spaceboy, spaceboymusic.com. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network, and this broadcast is owned and copyrighted 2022 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network, Inc. It cannot be used anywhere, downloaded, rebroadcast, or copied anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black or the Game Changer Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Again, tomorrow night, Isaac Arthur and time travel. Until then, be safe. Go Beckley Teppy.